Hello, everybody. I'm Professor Marshall, and welcome to our new series, Intro to Cooninomics. Okay, and I know this isn't my normal content, and it's not going to be going forward, but it's important to highlight these issues because there's so many different types of black people, from your YNs to your Steve Urkels, and a group that's usually forgotten in that sector are the people that are labeled coons, Uncle Toms, and Sambo soldiers. And I think it's important to highlight all sections of the black community. So, I'm going to make this a series where we interview people from that side. And today, my first guest is a man by the name of Andre Williams, a very divisive figure in the black community for a lot of his takes and a lot of his videos, as he labels himself by his Twitter page as a critic of black culture. And you can criticize black culture. You can criticize all culture. You can criticize anything. So I think it is important to have those conversations. And before this started, I wasn't a big fan. And after, I still don't agree with him at all. But I think I understand where it's coming from a little bit. And I think he has all the tools to maybe make a change in the way he approaches things and our differences that we do can talk about in this interview. But, only time will tell if that's what happens or not. So I hope you guys enjoy. This is a shortened version a little bit. The longer version will be posted also right up here. So I hope you guys enjoy. And yeah, please subscribe. Tomorrow I got another video coming out for you guys that's a little less, that's more like what I'm normally posting. But I hope you guys like the series. And if you want, in the comments, give me some more people we can interview in this sphere. And yeah, thank you. So enjoy. So I have a lot of questions. I'm sure a lot of people do because you're a polarizing figure
Yeah.
in the community as with your opinions. So can I start with just a general question, right?
Mhm.
Do you hate black people? Because that's what the consensus online seems to be saying about you. I think it's a fair question that should be asked.
Yeah.
Do you hate black people?
Well, how can I hate black people? I'm black myself. I mean, I wake up every
Exactly.
morning. I'm like, well, I'm black.
No, exactly.
So,
That's what I'm saying.
no, I love black people. It's just I want us to do better, and I'm
Hmm.
acknowledging the fact that our culture currently has moved away from what I think black people should be and what black people can be. So I'm criticizing that. I'm critiquing that. I'm hostile to that because I think we can go in a different direction.
Okay. So what I'm trying to see is so you want to see black people advance, right?
Of
That's what
course.
of course. So do you think that you're going about it in the right way?
I would say yes. I would say as black people, we like to keep it real. We like to tell the truth. We want to keep it honest.
Of course.
I think we can be very direct. I think being direct in our community is something that's a common trait. And that's exactly what I'm doing with my content. My content focuses on three types of people. One, I want to piss off the people at the bottom, the niggas in the community, the people who are extremely disrespectful to our image, right? They bring down the value of our community. They commit a lot of crime. They're not taking care of children. They're selling poison in our community. Just unbecoming of what a black person should be. I want to piss them off. I want to make them angry. The second is the person in the middle. The person is like, well, you know what? I agree. I know there's problems going on, but I just don't like your delivery. I think your delivery is too harsh. Well, I would say, the way these people are delivering us, the way they're representing us is harsh. It's disgusting. If you have a problem with my delivery, you should have a problem with the people like Sexy Red or the people who are out here selling drugs. You should have a big issue with their delivery because they have more star power, they have more money and influence than I do. So I have a problem with them first. So I want to, of course, have a conversation with them, get them to see eye to eye, and many of them do. Many people come across my content and they don't like. I don't like the delivery, but I hear what you're saying and I think it's true. And they always come out when they have a conversation with a better taste in their mouth about me. And the final is to wake up the black people who are too afraid to speak up on these issues because they're going to be called an Uncle Tom or a coon or they're not going to be accepted in the community. Who cares about them? When we're looking at the way we're going as a people and what surrounds the common black man, the common black woman, it's uninhabitable. We don't want it anymore. So you've got to speak up. You've got to be outspoken in what you believe. And I would say separate yourself from those who give us a poor representation and poor image.
Okay, so I see your point, right? That's a very good message. I think anyone can get behind that, right? So I do see your point there. But would you not say that? Have you not noticed that a lot of your fan base tends to be white middle aged men that are just saying black fatigue this, black fatigue that, and you could say that they're they're a little racist. I'm not. I don't think, and I just want to say, does that not? Would that not be a problem that the people that your message is going to are not the people that are going to make the changes and that are going to hear it?
Well, if I go to a video of a white person criticizing white people, I often find black people and other people in their comment section. If I go to a Hispanic criticizing the Hispanic community, I find white people, black people. If I go to as of right now, we see a lot of anti-Israel content out there. If I go to someone who's Jewish who's criticizing Israel, well, there's a lot of people there. So would the same question be brought upon them? I mean, my
That's a
comment
fair.
section, the people who come into my comments or who reach out to me are mostly black. And I'm not going to stop. I can't stop. Hey, listen, white people, don't like and view the video. We have to put like a race setting on my video, like only black people, because if we're going to do that, then we're just going back to the 1950s, right? We're just going to have, if we're going to have segregated social media where no one can
Well,
say anything, then that's kind of like a big problem. I want to
well.
say one last thing.
Oh yeah,
One
go
last
ahead.
thing. Um, at the end of the day, we live in this country. It's a multiracial country, right? Whites live here, blacks live here. Everyone, we've opened the door for everyone over the last 60 years. So, and you have social media, which is extremely interconnected with the entire world. People are going to comment. People are going to say how they feel. And instead of crying about, and I'm not saying you, or I'm talking about the people out there who have a problem, but, instead of crying about, oh, I see a white person in your comment section, well, maybe we should listen to, well, what's the message here? Is there truth to what's being said? Instead of focusing on the people who are in the audience, focus on the message. And even not even the messenger. Don't even focus on me. Focus on the message at the end of the day.
Okay, well, I think if we focus on the message here, right? I think everyone. This is probably the biggest critique you always get is, I don't think people always say that you're not taking into account the years of treatment of black people and just in ghettos and neighborhoods. This is a conversation you probably talk about all the time, right?
Of
Of
course.
just the past and Jim Crow laws and all that and freedom. So where do you stand on that particular argument?
Well, I live in the present. I mean, we learn as much as we can from the past. Things happen. I mean, no one's going to sit back and act like this country's history is like the most polished and pristine, and everyone is holding hands and there's roses and flowers. Every nation, every people have a backstory. Even as us as individuals, we're not perfect. We've done things in our lives that we're not proud of, and it is what it is. We still go forward, and we're defined with our action and our deed in the present and going forward for the future. So yeah, shit happened. Jim Crow, slavery. But you and I, we don't live in the time of, oh, there's drinking fountains that say colored and whites only. We're not, there is no segregated busing for us. We don't have schools like, well, you can only go to this school because, you're black and we're not going to let you. We don't have that. We have the greatest opportunity in the world as black people. And I'd rather focus on using this opportunity, which came with a lot of great pain, a lot of resilience, a lot of hard work, instead of squandering that, instead of doing nothing. I'd rather us be productive because being an American is, I would say, a great fortune. When you look around the world, you could be anywhere else. I mean, the closest thing that you could be to an advanced society is maybe China, maybe you'll be in Europe. But to be an American, black, white, to be an American is the greatest achievement, the greatest opportunity you could ever have. And to waste that
I fully
is
agree.
a life wasted.
So I fully agree, but the other point that I think you're not taking into account, and this might be my personal biggest criticism, is the fact that yeah, slavery's long over, right? Slavery, Jim Crow, we're not drinking out different water fountains anymore. But at the
Right.
same time, though, I think we do have to acknowledge that I think slavery is the greatest injustice that's happened in this country because Native Americans, they got reparations, they got reservations, they got money for their land that was taken. The Japanese, they got many apologies from the government and money for internment camps. Black people didn't get anything, and even after segregation, and even when you look at a ghetto, right? These schools are severely underfunded. I was lucky enough to go to a school that was properly funded because I went to a majority white neighborhood. But also, I now when I get older and I go to college and there's people from all different backgrounds, you realize that people that come from inner city schools, a lot of them are underfunded and they're undereducated. So I think the problem. So I think again, not to say we're blaming white people, but a lot of white politicians that are not funding these places properly. I think those are the things we have to look at.
I think we should look at the black politicians that are not doing their duty because they say they're so pro black and they say they're for the black community. And guess what? They get to Congress, they get in office, and they do a half-assed job, and they come to you and say, "Well, you better vote for me the next election. We're gonna try to do it again now." No, this is the problem we've been having. Of course, we can look at the historical conditions of the country, but if this was the '70s and '80s, I would say there are still residual effects from Jim Crow. There are still residual effects from, being barred from these institutions and not receiving the GI Bill. But is that when it comes to our own people, we don't want to do the work for ourselves. We can sit back and cry about what something wasn't done for us long before our time, long before our birth. It's our duty, especially within our generation, to do right for ourselves and do right for those who will come after us. That's important. I can't cry about what my granddaddy went through. I can't cry with the misfortunes of what my mother and father went through. I can only talk about what I'm going through now. We look economically, this country, Gen Z is probably going to be the poorest generation. We have to really focus and come together as a generation, black and white, uh, and focus on what's good for us, what's better for us. But people make that criticism about me, like, well, you're not focusing on all these underfunded schools. Well, guess what? You know why these places are underfunded? It's because the businesses in the black years. I think the success rate of a black business is about the failure rate is, I think, 81% in the first 2 years in the black community. That's terrible. We look at the average SAT score across the board. It's, I think, an 869, mid 800s. That's a big problem. There's a school here in Detroit. The average SAT score is a 710. The average ACT score in the state of Michigan, I think it's an 810. It's ridiculous. We have to do for ourselves. I could sit here and cry about what the white man didn't do in the past, but we live in this time now. The problems of the past are not the problems of today. The injustices of the past are not the injustices of today. We have to focus on this time now.
No, so I think that's a good point. But also these low SAT scores.
Yeah.
How are they supposed to be educated if they're in a low income, if their school isn't teaching them properly,
I can answer that
right?
because the education, you don't rely on the school to educate you. You rely on your parents. This is something that you have to have a strong community, a strong family. And this is something we often don't have in the black community is because the family's been completely butchered. We've removed the importance of marriage. We've removed the importance of men and women being together. We've completely stripped women of their role. We've completely emasculated men and removed them from the household and told them that they have to simp out and be the biggest pansies in the world. We have a big problem with that. But when it comes to education, you don't just rely on the school system. I mean, education across the country is terrible, regardless. But with the black community, we don't value education like we should. I think you came from a household that does. I came from one. But the fact is, we are the exception, not the rule. That's the sad part. I hate to admit that, but the common folk, the common folk is when you go to the store and I go to the store, they're gonna look at us like we're from the suburbs. I was born in the hood.
Listen,
I
I.
think,
I,
yeah,
I'm from the suburbs. I'll admit.
yeah.
I'll be the first to admit I'm from the
There's
suburbs.
nothing wrong with
I
that.
can't. I can't lie. But at the
But you'll
same
see
time, though,
exactly what they'll say is they'll look at us and say, like, why do you guys talk like that? It's because we came from a family that cared about us, and unfortunately, a lot of
well,
black families don't care about them.
I don't think the talking. See, that's where I don't. I think people just talk like that because that's just that. I don't think that really has anything to do with someone's intelligence or their sophistication. I think the way they talk is just the way they talk. It's different from you and me, but I don't see any problem with that off of the
I'll
base
tell you
statement.
this: when you speak, you want someone to speak. You want to speak clearly, right? You want someone to hear you clearly and concisely. You want to speak properly because it's about understanding. Communication is important. I mean, this has been something developed long before us. Language, communication skills, the way that we communicate. This has been thousands of years in the making. So when you have a people that refrain from communicating properly, well, what does that cause in the community? It causes a lot of dysfunction. This is why we see so many problems amongst our own self because we don't know how to communicate with each other. And the way that we communicate is just so, I would say, primitive in a way that it's just like, what the hell? Why are we talking like this? I don't think black people speak like this. Actual black people, I'm not talking about the suburban black kid or the black businessman who's working and who came from a college education. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about actual black people who live every day in these neighborhoods. We have to do the common, hard, middle class black person. They talk like this to fit in. They talk like this to blend in. They don't want to talk like this. If you sit them down, if you educate them on how to speak properly, they're not going to sit back and talk like this forever. That's why I never agree with the code switching. You got a code switch. No, speak English, speak properly. If these people won't take you because you speak a certain way, then get the hell away from them. This is why we have to, I would say, segregate ourselves from those who are unbecoming of the quality that we want, the standard that we need to set for ourselves.
But I think your standard, I think the standard that you want black people to reach is, I, I think it's no disrespect, no disrespect. I'm
Go
just
ahead.
gonna say it how I think. I
No,
think
go
it's
ahead.
a, it slightly sounds a little coonish, no disrespect, but I think
Mhm.
you want them to live up to a standard that's set because black people and white people talk differently, Hispanic people talk differently. That's the way of the world. I think you want us to live up and talk more, I guess, in a way to say more proper and more white, which I don't think people have to speak like that to succeed, and I don't think that's an indication of how smart you are. I can understand if when I speak to a black person that from the urban areas, I know what they're saying just fine, right? So I don't think that really holds any weight
But
in a person's
would
character.
you speak that way if you went to your parents and start speaking the way that somebody like I live on 7 Mile, born and raised 7 Mile Highland Park. If you start speaking like the niggas at the corner at the gas station in front of your parents or your grandparents who work very hard to instill certain values, because that's not about a white standard. It's about a standard we've always held within the black community. It's about a way we've always spoke and carried ourselves. Not because we want to fit in with white people or we want white people to accept us, because we know who we are and we know exactly what our value and our worth is in society. I want to be held to, I want us to be held to a certain standard because I think we have the capacity for greatness. But going back to my question, if you went to go speak like the people you see at the gas station, do you think that your parents would be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm cool with that. You think they would be
you
cool
know,
with that?
I'll be honest. I don't think it would be that bad because a lot of people from my family, from my extended family, they talk like niggas from the gas station, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with being a nigga from the gas station as long as you're not
I
loitering
would
around
say
the gas
your
station.
your father, you think your father would be accepting of that, or
Well,
grandfather?
my grandfather, he he talked like that. I think
He
that's.
talk like that.
I mean, I think I I grew up in the suburbs. Most of my family didn't, so it's a little different for
Okay,
me, right? It's a
okay,
little different. But
understandable.
I don't see any problem with the way people speak. I never have, in whether it's an immigrant or a black person. I just think as long as I can understand what you're saying properly, I think it's fine.
Well, the way that people communicate is a sign of assimilation. If you can't speak the language or adhere to the cultural standard or norms within a society, then it means that you're not assimilating properly, and that's a problem. That's a sign of rebellion. It's a minor sign of rebellion. That's a minor indicator that rebellion will come. Um, that's a big problem that we have in the black community. It's not even that, and like I said, when I see a lot of these people who speak in this way, you have a conversation with them, and they very educated. Some of them are very intelligent, and it's more of they're doing it to be followers. They're not doing it because they actually want to speak this way. They're doing it because, well, these guys talk like this, so I'm going to talk like it too. Or these people talk like it because I want to fit in, and that's a big problem. We don't have any leaders in our community. We don't have any leaders. We've got a bunch of followers. We've got a bunch of men who will rather follow each other and sit back and try to fit in and get in where they can fit in, than to stand out and be a shining example of excellence and try to make a culture and build a community of people who are excellent and holding themselves to a higher standard. And that's what I'm trying to instill in the most harsh way.
But now, can I ask, why are white people not held to these same standards that black people have to achieve? Because if you see a white people, because a lot of trends in pop culture and stuff like that that are seen as ghetto by the black community, when white people do it, it's fine. When you see when you see a black guy hanging out outside wearing a tank top, you're gonna think, oh, that's trashy. But all of my friends, when they go to the gym, they're always going out in tank tops. No, never had a thought about it. But I know I can't do that, right? I know I would be
You
judged
can
if
do
I
that
were.
if you go to
I
the
mean, I
gym in a
could,
tank top.
but I would be not in the gym. But if I was out in public in a tank top, I know I'd be judged. I know when you
Yeah,
see niggas
I'm
outside
gonna be
wearing a tank
honest.
top, you'd be
I
judged.
think you should. I think anybody who's going out and they're wearing like a tank top. I'm not with all like you're gonna go out and sleepwear and streetwear and all this shit. Like I'm not saying we have to go back to suits and ties and have to look like Peaky Blinders, but carry yourself with some high regard. There's a guy who does great content on YouTube. I think his name is Trey Bryant. Trey Bryant Styles, black guy in his 30s. He teaches black men how to dress,
Mm-hmm.
but he teaches black people how to dress. When we talk about white people standards, well, first off, we live in a white majority country. We live in the West, which is majority white. So, I mean, they're going to set the standard because they're the majority. It is what it is. But with that being said, within our own community, we set our own standard. Now, that standard is probably going to adhere and connect with the cultural and civilizational standard. But at the end of the day, it's our standard. And if it's below the cultural and civilizational standard of a state, then we have to address that. We have to call into that because then we're not compatible with that civilization. This is something we just have to acknowledge. This is how humans have always operated. With the globalization of the world, we've become like this kumbaya. Everyone can come in and, everyone's the same. When we have to acknowledge that everyone is different, even on the individual level. Our respective racial groups are different. We're different in various different aspects, not even just on a racial level, on a class level, we're different. We operate on a different way. But when it comes to the way that we behave, the way that we carry ourselves, I think we can do better. When I'm looking at the way that black men behave, I'm looking at the black men and black women carry themselves, it's very poor. It's unbecoming of what black men can be and what we can as a people. So I don't know if that answers your question or if you want me to go
Well,
into
no,
depth.
that does. But can I ask you this?
Go
Would
ahead.
you not say that your problem with the black community is less about the black community? It's more about how people that are less fortunate and impoverished. Because white people that are in poverty in rural areas and not urban areas, they act the same way. They act the same way that you call unbecoming of black people. So at what point does this become a poverty issue and not a white and black issue?
Well, of course, class is always something that is connected. We look at race and class, very much connected. Um, I don't like the standard. Like when I see like low class whites, I judge them the same way as I judge niggas. It's not like,
No.
oh, you know what? Well, whitey can be low class, but nigga can't. Like, no, I'm gonna judge both. Like, listen, uh, and I've told white people it's like you need to really fix your community. You need to fix your. When I'm looking at weak white men, they're letting these white liberal women run around with their cat hair on their clothes and they're nagging. I mean, they're the reason for why we have so many problems in this country. When I look at the way that the black,
I
when you look at
disagree
the
with
way
that.
you disagree with, I'm
That's
going to be
crazy.
honest. White liberal women are probably the worst thing in America. They've ruined America.
White liberal
Um,
women are the worst thing in America.
they're the worst thing. They are the
How?
fucking worst. You know why? Abortion from them, mass immigration. They support it. When it comes to the defunded police and we come to all these, we have to decriminalize all these. That comes from them. The judges who let these people out, they've been out 14 times on a felony charge, and they've been stabbing and hitting
Okay,
people. It comes from
those
these people.
those scenarios don't happen where people are just being let out of jail for heinous crimes and just
Well, it
being let
happens
to
a lot
walk
more
the
than you
street.
think. It happens a lot more than you think. Would it say is it like at
Under.
this exponential rate where it's like they're letting out millions of people and they're going to kill? But I would say by the hundreds, yes. Would I say by maybe the thousands? Yes.
Can I get one guy as an example? Just one
Oh, we
guy.
just saw with the Iran Zaruska case,
Okay.
14 times he
See,
was let
okay,
out.
well we can
It's like
talk
this guy in
about.
Chicago who would just set a lady on fire.
Oh, hold on.
Um, yeah.
We could talk about that the first case. I don't remember her name off the top. I can't really pronounce that. I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna sound fucked up. But the point is, that guy, when you look at his charges, every time he committed one violent crime and he served 5 years for that said violent crime. All the other small misdemeanor offenses he didn't. So you could say, oh, he was in jail and out a bunch of times. But what else was he supposed to do? Was he supposed to get life? It's an unfortunate situation.
I think
But
right there you should get life and get the, if anything, be very honest with you. When you're a repeat offender and that many times, death penalty. I'm just be honest with you.
death
When you have
penalty,
people,
death
when you have
penalty.
people, it's either going to be two things: rehabilitation. If they can't be rehabilitated, then we're going to keep them in jail for life. And if they're committing violent crimes like that, death penalty. Why we want people who are going to commit these horrible crimes in our society? I want to rehabilitate the people, but it's a question of, and I think that's a big problem we have with the prison system. We don't have a lot of rehabilitative programs. Ronald Reagan butchered the mental health. He killed all the mental health asylums. That was terrible. That's why I don't like fucking Reagan, even as a
True
right
that.
winger.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm
I think
surprised.
the
That one.
white,
That one
yeah,
shocked me. That one
no,
did shock me.
don't
I'll
be
admit.
shocked by that.
I'll admit.
Going into the crime and everything, black people, we have a very serious problem with crime in our community. It affects us more than anyone
No,
else.
that's. I agree.
So we have to be very tough on crime. We have to be extremely tough. But when we go back to white liberal women, all the problems that we see in today, white liberal women, all the problems within the black community, black women, we have to
What?
fix
What
them.
the? Whoa, what the fuck? You can't drop all the problems of that. Black women are all the problems of the
Yeah,
community.
most definitely.
How?
So the black woman has become the breadwinner in the black community. In terms of education, they lead and outrank black men when it comes to education. I would say when in terms of financial power, black men still dominate, but who controls the courts? The women have controlled the courts when it comes to family court, when it comes to divorce court.
No.
It takes 15 years for a man to recover from a divorce in this country. It takes a long time for a man to really recover from being in a relationship that goes south, especially if he's got kids. Child support, all that
No.
favors women. Custody
I
battles
agree.
favors black. Yeah, so that's a big problem. So they have a power of the purse in the black community. And when you have 72% of the children being raised in the care of black women, and we look at the result, black children are I would say, the most violent. I would say black schools are extremely dysfunctional. Black teachers, I would say black female teachers are not the best. Black male teachers, I would say, are far better teachers. I say black men are far better fathers and caretakers of children than black women. All the results are there. We're looking at it today. The last 40 years, black women have been running the black community, and it's been terrible. And they don't want to take accountability for it. And the problem is that black men don't want to take responsibility and take control. They want to take control in the bedroom and have these children, but they don't want to take control in the household and raise the family and guide and be there for the family. That's the problem that we have. So it's a dual issue, but it really rests on black women who are the leaders right now, who are guiding the ship, who are at the helm of the ship that is the black community.
And how are they fucking up the community? How are they like I know you're just kind of like explain like things that are the problem, but what are they doing that is fucking the community up?
The biggest thing is raising the children. I mean, when we look at the educational rate, we look at the academic performance of children, we look at the behavior performance of children. I mean, it's not good, and they're all in the care of black women. You have black women who over sexualize themselves extremely. We have black women who are extremely masculine, who are undesirable. The least desired women in the country for marriages are black women. The most obese, unhealthy, extremely unhealthy. The fattest woman in America by far is the black woman. We have a significant issue with our sisters. I mean, a big issue, and they don't want to acknowledge it because they want to sit back. And we've been told, and this comes from a teaching that I don't know. I don't know if I want to get into too deep, but this victim mentality, well, it comes from a certain teaching from a certain people that is not of our own. But with black women, they've embraced it even more. That oh, actually, I'm not at fault. It's really the man's fault. It's racism's fault. It's white people's fault. No, Shaniqua, it's your fault. The reason why these children are not being taken care of is because of you. The reason for why the household is dysfunctional is because and I love black women. All I've ever been with is black women.
Really?
I'm married to a black woman. I'm
Really?
not this, yeah, I'm not this, oh, I want to go and date white
Huh.
women. Never been that way. I'm not into race mixing, not into miscegenation. But it makes it hard for a lot of these brothers out here
Wait,
with
do you
the
not
black.
believe in race mixing?
I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think that I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest with you.
You're not a fan of race mixing.
No, I don't think that's something. It's not as common. It's not as. It's something that we see. It's been pushed heavily within the Americas, in movies and media and literature, when it really doesn't happen as commonly as we think. Now, don't get me wrong. Mixed girls are the best. I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm gonna tell you this, man. When you find you a mixed girl, you probably mixed girls are the best. I'm gonna tell you that
No,
they are the
they're
best.
fantastic.
They're fucking
They're
fantastic,
great.
dude. And I'm just gonna keep
You're
it
having
there,
some
man.
flashbacks there, huh? You're having.
Listen,
It
man.
looks
You
like you're
can't
having some
see
flashbacks right there.
it.
No,
Enjoy. Listen, enjoy your
no.
time, man, because listen, the mixed girls are fun. I would tell you that. But and this is why you see a lot of black men going towards mixed girls or Afro Latina. They're going towards the non-black American women. They're going to more exotic women. They're going to the African women. They're going to the Caribbean women. They're not going with the black girl whose family's from Alabama and she was brought up in Chicago or Philadelphia. They're not going with that because of how aggressive and how they're not submissive and how argumentative they are. Nobody wants to deal with that, Shaniqua. I'd rather go sit here with, Jenny from the islands, with her nice, natural hair, with her non-fat ass. She's not extremely huge. She doesn't have this bell tire in the front and this huge ass in the back. No, we don't want that. We don't want that as men. We have to set the standard for what we want our women to be. And this is the key thing. Men don't understand this, and I hope that you understand this. This is very important. That men have access to relationships and marriages. Women have access to sex. We set the standard of what we want. And if kids get made, if the household's going to be going in a certain direction, it's flipped where black women have the access to marriages and relationships. We allow them to decide where we get relate. Fuck that. It's us. We decide how the relationship's gonna go. We decide how the marriage gonna go. The only thing they decide is if we get sex or not. That's it. That's the only thing
I
they decide.
would your wife agree with that? That's the only thing
One
that she
thousand.
decides.
Hell yeah.
That's
Hell
all
yeah.
she. That's all she decides. All she decides
I'm a big
is
Kevin
just.
Samuels fan.
I
You know what
love
I'm saying?
Kevin
Because
Samuels. I love
yeah.
that was my nigga back in the day. I love Kevin Samuels,
See,
but at the same time, though, I think women. I think a relationship is two ways. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's two ways. I don't think a relationship is two ways. Um, Now I would say it's two ways in this way. You're there to support the man, not to sit here and try to argue with him and fight with him and try to, I'm going to do my own thing and go my own way and I'm going to make my own money. And you can, no, no, because what you're doing is you're a hostile force. Because at the end of the day, what's the goal? To have children, to procreate,
Yeah.
to create a household for those children, a conducive household for those children to live in.
Hmm.
If you're arguing with me on the most minor shit, when kids come along, that's major shit. If you can't sit back and agree with me on the minor shit, then how are we going to be able to manage and hold this household together? How are we going to be able to manage and raise these children, which are extremely important to our legacy and our growth? I mean, come on now. And this is why people don't want to be with black women because they argue too fucking much. They don't know when to shut the fuck up.
Well, I think people are. I think a relationship is arguments. Like, I find, I don't think you can just, I don't think you're not always going to be right. Right? And I think your wife probably, she thinks she's not always going to be right either. But at the same time, though, I think an argument, I think that's just what a relationship is. You know what I mean?
At the end of the day, we can. I'm talking about if you're talking about like on small shit. Like I know I want apples and she want oranges for dinner. Like that's
Yeah,
completely
that's
different.
different. That's different.
We're talking about critical decisions. We're talking about things that are important to for our survival, our sake. If you're arguing with me about shit like that, no, get the fuck out. No, I don't want to have
Really?
any lip. If I'm saying like, hey, here's what we got to do. I've already thought it through. Let's get it done. Now, if you bring some, like I think we should do this as well. I think this fine. If you bring a counterpoint that I actually think this would be a lot better, fine. It's no one has a problem with that. You're supposed to work together in a relationship at the end of the day. But if you're the thing is, what we're seeing with black women is they don't want to work together. It's a fight constantly. So sadly, black may really have to get in and put your foot down. You really have to set the tone. And if anything, you may have to start. Unfortunately, it's a lot harder for men to date in these day and age. White men, same thing. White people have the same issue. It's a whole conversation with that. Black men, we have it harder because there's white girls are too like they think that they're like you have like a fucking fat five thinking that she's a 10.
I
Thinking
think
that she's
that's all. I think that's all women. That's everybody.
you think that's all women?
I do think that. I think that's all
Yeah,
women.
yeah,
Believe me, there's a lot of delusional ones. Some of them be looking
yeah. You
fucked up. That's a fact. That's a fact.
that's true. Like you have these bitches be a 3, like I'm a 10.
No, exactly. I
I'm the
think
best.
exactly. I think that's everybody.
I'll give you that. We'll give you that. But
Yeah.
back onto the reparations. You
Oh
mentioned
yeah. I do you think people should get? Do you think people deserve reparations? Or I already know the answer to this, but
I think we've already gotten reparations. I think the biggest
and
reparations package was being freed from slavery, the Civil Rights Acts, which I have my opinions of the Civil Rights Movement, which are not positive.
you have
Um,
negative opinions on the civil rights movement.
yeah, I think the Civil Rights Movement was mainly co opted by Jewish influence. Most of the people who funded the Civil Rights Movement was Jewish. The most of the people who surrounded Malcolm X, not Malcolm X, but MLK were Jewish. NAACP, co-founded by Jews. There's a history of Jews using certain groups and certain minorities to get their way and to try to move away because they thrive in multiculturalism as a minority. They thrive in
Mm-hmm.
multiculturalism. They've never worked well within white countries with other white people in white majority countries. And I say that they use the black community as a weapon to pin blacks and whites against each other. I think they even use whites to pin blacks, pin white people against black people. And the most notable
Mm-hmm.
example of this is the creation of the ADL was started by defending the case of Leo Frank, which he raped and murdered a young white girl, and then blamed it on the black janitor. And the Klan and the white people in the town were like, no, we're going to take the word of the black guy over the Jew. And that's how the ADO, the most notorious organization that the most, the biggest. Come on, if you know what the ADL is and how
Yeah.
prominent they are, they
Yeah.
work with the FBI.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone loves the ADL, but they don't know the history of where it started, how they blame the black man for, lynching, not lynching, but killing this white girl. And then the
Mm-hmm.
Klan and the rest of the white people were like, fuck that. We believe the black guy, all right? We think the black guy. No, he didn't do it. You did it, all right? So people they don't like to talk about that, but it's very true. But when it comes to reparations, no, I don't think we deserve reparations. I think the most beautiful package of reparations is we live in this country and we have the greatest amount of wealth beyond all other black peoples around the world. We have the most political power. Uh, everything, everything that we have in this country today, we
And
benefit from.
okay, but all these things that they gave us after they brought us over here and freed us, and we're supposed to be thankful for this.
Well, first off, we were slaves in Africa. I mean, the Africans enslaved us, sold us
Well, of
into
course,
captivity.
but the
Then
transatlantic slave trade is the biggest in history. Right? We do got.
well, so yeah, it was a lot more comprehensive. A lot, of course, it was a more. It wasn't the rudimentary slavery you were seeing throughout the various continents. I would say it was a lot more complex. Yes, but I mean, okay, slavery was a common practice throughout the world. I mean, slavery was brutal in far different aspects. The only thing that made it different here is it was extremely racial. It was a grand racial distinction because you're coming into a majority white society, and obviously you're non-white, so you're going to be a slave. That's like the only thing that makes it different. Other than that, slavery was brutal, like throughout human history. It's always a brutal fucking practice.
Well, of course it is. That's why I think it's always a brutal practice. But I think to say that we got reparations just by that's like if you broke a plate and then I put it back together and say, hey, there we go. I didn't just break your shit.
Well, of course, there were plans to send black people back to Africa. You had Liberia, the Liberia, I can't even think of the society what was done. But sending people back to Liberia, all these things were done to remedy slavery, And I think the biggest thing was like, fuck that. Instead of spending all this money to send these people back here, they've already been here for generations.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're American. And it was a long fight with, of course, the North and the South fought with that. And of course, the North was reluctant to allow this because they didn't know how it was going to go. They were elected to have a non-white racial minority in their country. But we had been here since the 1600s with them, always been at least 10, 15, 20% of the population. We've always been the second largest racial group in this country for the majority of its history. Hispanics have now taken that. We've allowed that black people for Hispanics to come in, and now they're replacing us and using us in many aspects. But yeah, the Civil Rights Act was reparations. I would say we look at the amount of welfare that's paid. I look at the amount of government assistance that's given to black people's welfare. But regardless, I mean, would you rather live in Africa or would you rather live in the United States? Honest question.
Listen, I got no problem with living in America. I got no problem with living in America. I love America, but at the same time, though, you can't ignore the injustices and
I'm
just
not
say we
even.
got to move
There's
on.
injustices all around the world, but I'm
Of
saying
course, but I'm talking about the ones that me and you are facing. We as a people are like
we're facing more
we're not
injustice.
facing the injustice in Africa. We're not facing. I'm talking about
I'm right.
what's going on here.
What's going on here is that we're facing a grand injustice by our own people being done each and every day. I don't have white people coming into my community and shooting me or robbing the stores and taking the cars and doing everything to bring down the value in our community. We're not watching college educated black men being gunned down by these vagrants out here. We're not watching hardworking black people lose their wealth or be robbed and have things taken from them from white people. I'm having that from other black people. That's the great injustice that's going on right now that surpasses anything. When your own people, when your own household is in chaos, that's no greater chaos. That anything that anyone else can do outside of the house doesn't matter. Everything that's going on inside the house matters more. This is the problem. We focus about what white people did and what white people are doing. When I've got these niggas in my house trying to kill me, I'm not gonna worry about what's outside
See,
trying to kill me.
I agree with you. And here's the thing that I have to say about your following and the people that watch you. Right, is that what you said is a very good point. Right, you're worried about what's going on in your community and what's going on around you. Right.
Yeah,
But I would argue that a lot of your followers have never seen any of this black fatigue, not bullshit. I don't think they've seen any of that,
I
right?
would say a lot of my like black followers. Oh yeah, they
Black
most definitely
followers,
have.
they probably have. I'm talking about your followers are
The white
majority white.
followers.
They're majority white.
No, the
When I
majority of
look
my
at your
followers are
comments,
black. I'm going to say this. This is another thing
come
that we
on,
need to
nigga.
get out of. That there is a lot of black fatigue in this country when we don't want to take accountability. Then we want to blame someone else for the problems, and then we want to beg someone to come and solve the problems. See, there's going to be a lot of black fatigue, and a lot of people you come across, they'll tell you stories about how they had to deal with black people. They look at it's being shown how we behave, how we act. So I think we focus too much about the people. Like I said, it goes back to this. I don't care about the people outside of my house. I care about the people inside my house more than anything. My message, my videos, is for the niggas inside the house and for the people in our community. If white people outside looking on, yeah, there's some nigga shit going on. I can see through the windows niggas are doing nigga shit. They're gonna see it. If somebody, let's say you and your family start fighting inside your house and getting loud, your neighbors are gonna listen. If you start fighting out in the yard, your neighbors are gonna look out the window and watch. You can't sit there in the middle of the fight. Why y'all looking and why y'all watching? What sense does that make? What sense does that make? You're out here fighting in front of the yard and fighting in the house. You're causing a disturbance, and you can complain that other people are looking. Come on, make it make sense.
I actually don't think black fatigue is a real thing. I'll be honest with you. I think black fatigue is just what racist people say to justify being racist. I don't think black fatigue is a real thing, to be honest with you.
Mr. Marshall, if you live in the areas I live in, if you've been living and growing up in what I've grown up in, black fatigue is a fucking real
Listen,
thing, and most commonly, it's a fatigue for black people more so than anything else.
I will say I'm a teacher, right? And I have seen some nigga shit as being a teacher, right? I'll admit it. I'll be the first to say that. I've seen nigga shit everywhere. My grandma grew up in Dorchester, which I don't know if you know a lot about Mass, but that's like
Mm-hmm.
not the greatest area. But the point
Nah,
is,
it's
like,
okay.
I've seen nigga shit, right? And
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time though, I don't think there's fatigue from that. I think the people using black fatigue are I don't think they're actually being fatigued by black people. I'll be honest with you. I think it's people that see videos of black people acting, because you can load up Twitter and that's the main thing you're gonna see on the timeline. If we're being honest, right? I
That's
think that's
Twitter.
just a
You go to
realistic thing.
Instagram, you see it. You
Exactly.
go
You
to
go to
YouTube, you
Instagram, you go
see
to
it.
Twitter. I think if you just go online, I think that's what you're gonna see. But I don't think black fatigue is an
Mr. Marshall, you
actual.
weren't seeing this. I've been on the right for a very long time, so I can tell you what gets pushed to the algorithm, who makes the videos, all that. I know a lot of the players and the people who made these videos over the years. You couldn't talk about these things 5 years ago. You couldn't talk about these things 2 years ago. This is just a growing fatigue. And honestly, I would say a lot of the black fatigue videos got pushed by black people like me. We were the ones who were making more and more of the content. Most of the content that got popular was from black people. It wasn't just, because we already know what Whitey's going to say. We already know, like, oh, yeah, niggas are niggas, right? Typical niggas. When other black people have come out and started saying it, that's the videos that got popular. I had a video talking about black fatigue, got 14 million views on Instagram. That's fucking difficult. That's not a easy thing to do on Instagram to get that kind of many views on there. Did the same thing with my TikToks. Had 25 million views each talking about black issues. This is something that people are they're happy to see black people talk about this because it's going on every day and we're affected by it. We're affected by it. It's not even just that white people, well, they live in the cul-de-sac and they don't really have niggas doing nigga shit. You're right. But when they go to an urban area, they go to a Walmart or they go anywhere where there's a majority black area, this is the shit that they have to see. If they work in a majority black area, this is the shit they have to see. And they get treated like shit. You think they want to deal with that? No. So black fatigue is like a universal thing. It's not even just a white people thing. I think, an American. Everyone's tired of black people not doing the job and taking care of our areas and our own people. We don't police our own people. We make excuses for it, and people are tired of that. And it's a growing tiredness.
So do you think black people just make excuses for all the problems in the black community? You think that it's just all excuses?
Every time I have these conversations, and I'm talking about with you, I'm talking about just people in general, in terms of we talk about the history, we talk about what's going on. Well, slavery happened, or Black Wall Street, and did you know Jim Crow and redlining? I'm like, well, what the fuck does that have to do with today's price in tea in China? I don't really care about the price in tea in China back in 1950. I care about, nigga, what the price in tea in China is today. We can talk about the history of the price, but what the fuck is the price today, and how much do I have to pay? And I have to pay a lot for something that should not be, that is extremely expensive. I'm gonna say fuck that. No, I'm gonna look at other alternatives. This is what we do in America. When something's expensive and too costly, we look at other alternatives, right? We go to other brands. That's what we do. And right now, the greatest cost in terms of our community is education, crime, and the complete destruction of the black family and the relationship we have between black men and women. We don't want to solve these problems. We want to make excuses. Well, black women like this because, well, because of the history of racism. They've been told to do this. Black men steal and kill because, well, back in 1962, my granddaddy got hit with a club in Selma. Nigga, what the fuck does that have to do with you today? The reason why black men walk around and dress in this way and listen to this music goes back to the days of slavery. Everything is always like this reminder and storytelling. You remember that interview with Putin that Tucker Carlson did? And instead of explaining the war, Putin was like, well, let's go back to the year 750 to talk about why we,
Well,
and
yeah.
that's almost the same way that black people do it. We do the exact same thing. Well, actually, let me pull out the Elder Scrolls book and tell us why.
Well, hold on. Well, I think that's a different example. That's far back. But I think when you look at any war in history, what do you learn first? You learn the tensions before. When you learn about World War II, you learn about Germany, the state of Germany before World War II. So I don't think it's ridiculous to say why are we here today? What brought us here today? What Look at Compton, for example. Compton was a thriving suburb, right? It was a good suburb. Then migrations happened, and now we got black people in there. And what happens? White flight happens. And when white people go, the money goes,
Why did
right?
white people? So one, we have to talk about people naturally segregate. That's just a fact. People naturally segregate. They've always done this throughout human history. People always segregated from each other. It's just a natural thing we always do. You've done it in your high school. You do it at your job. Guess what? You do it in your communities. That's how America's going to be, especially in multiracial societies like we're going to have. It's always going to be segregation in a natural sense. Two, the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime. That's always going to make people want to leave. If I can't have a business in this area because people are stealing, you think I'm going to put any money into that area? No. If I can't um, have my workers come and be at this job safely because people are always getting killed or kidnapped or robbed, you think I'm going to sit back and put a business there? No. You think I'm going to have my children go to school there? You think I'm going to send anyone anything of value? You think if anything of value is going to go into a community that is going to take value from that, you think anyone's going to put any kind of value into? No, they're not. This is
So
how things have always
hold
been.
on, but when black people were moving into these communities, do you think the immediate follow up was crime and violence? I guess
When black people moving in these
when they were
communities,
moving into these communities, do you think that was the immediate update, or would it be more fair to say that that was the result of people getting of lack of education and lack of funding and resources, and now people are in poverty because poverty is what
of
creates crime.
course.
So to say
Poverty
black
creates
people
crime,
moved
but
in and
guess what?
they just started fucking up the neighborhood,
Yeah,
fucking all their women, that's not what happened. I feel like that's
of course, is
disingenuous.
what happened. So these people moving into the area, right? It's impoverished, not taken care of. Because I mean, why would we expect them to take care of us? I mean, it's two different races, two different times. It's important for us to do something for ourselves. And this goes back to the civil rights movement, where we rejected the mindset of Malcolm X and we accepted the mindset of MLK of we're going to beg the white man for a table rather than go and if I can build a table, I'm not going to sit back and beg someone to sit at their table. I'm going to make it for myself. Now you got to sit back and say, well, white people, when we would build something, they would attack it, destroy it. 1,000%. I do agree that happened. But go back to today. We have the greater amount. We have a significant amount of resources. We have a lot more access. We have a greater amount of education, access to education than anyone else. I mean, they put us in schools before they put white kids in schools. You're more likely to get into an Ivy League school just by applying as a minority than you would as a white person. So, I mean, all this crying about what happened in the past, it happened in the past, no doubt. No one's going to deny that. But today, the reason for why there's no investment in our communities is because of the crime. The reason for why there's you can't work or operate, no one wants to work with black people because of how we act and how we behave. It's simple as that. We can sit back and cry about what they did to us 100 years ago, but this isn't 100 years ago. What's going on what's happened in the last 100 minutes? What's happened in the last 100 days? What's happened in the last 10 years? We need to examine that because we have people who come from the most impoverished countries, war torn countries, with far more oppressive and far greater injustices going on today. They come to this country and they make shit happen. They take advantage of our system, which I find disgusting. And I want these people deported. And I don't think they should have any access to our shit. But guess what? They take advantage of it. And I respect them for coming over here and trying to make something happen. The African comes over here, he makes something happen. He gets to work. He doesn't complain. I serve with a lot of them. They took advantage of our VA system to take advantage of the government benefits we gave to service members. They take advantage of that shit, but they try to invest it into themselves. And they try to build and expand upon it. Niggas will sit back and complain, well, 400 years ago, my daddy didn't get this acre of land. So therefore, that's why I'm not going to work today. Because why I got to go work for the white man? The African gets up and says, I don't give a fuck about the white man. I don't give a fuck about what happened 100 years ago. I care about what I'm going to do for me and my family and how they're going to prosper. That's why people come to this fucking country because they're going to give something. They're going to make a sacrifice of their comfortability of leaving their home and not being around things that they're compatible with to come to a country that they're incompatible with to give something to their children so their children can have a better future. But black people, we don't understand that because we are too busy crying and making excuses.
Okay, but let's dig into this black man that you're talking about that says, "Oh,
Go
well,
ahead.
my daddy's slavery." This black man, right?
Yeah.
This guy probably came from, we're just gonna call it a poor neighborhood and an
Mm-hmm.
underdeveloped school system, right? So probably he wasn't learning shit. GPA would probably fucked up, right? So
Yeah.
now this is where we are. And when you have a bad GPA, right? I know this from firsthand experience of people with bad GPAs. college becomes a challenge. Getting into college, and especially if the low SAT scores, because not really learning shit. So now you're fucked, right? I'm not saying that's impossible, but I think again that makes things harder to get a good job and get up in life. Now, is it impossible? No, but does that eliminate a lot of things? Yes. So I
It
think
does.
we do have to start making a change in the education system. And I don't think any Republican leader is going to do that. As you're saying, black
Fuck
leaders aren't
no.
going to do anything. And their problem with the Democratic Party, but do you think a Republican
I'm
leader is
not.
going to
I'm
put
not a
money where their
Democrat or
mouth is?
Republican. I'm not. I'm not any of that shit. I
Well,
don't
okay. Do you
subscribe
think a
to this.
conservative is going to
I'm
do
not a
that?
conservative either. What am I going to conserve? Why would I want to conserve the current structure
So
and
what?
framework of the black community?
So what would you say you are politically then?
Say I'm an American nationalist. You can call me far right. Uh, I would say that's what I am. I believe in the betterment of this country, the betterment of the people in this nation. If you want to call me a black nationalist, you can. I would say a new understanding, a new presentation of it. But I'm not a black conservative because why would I be conserving the current culture? I despise the current culture. I want to take away the current conservatism wants to maintain the traditions and the current framework of a culture. I don't. I want to dismantle it because I think something new and something better would take its form. Now, in the American sense, you could say I want to conserve the current traditions and framework of the country, but that's in a broad sense. But in a more specific and American, I like no.
So
Honestly, at this point, no.
you did say in one of your videos, you did say maybe we should have never freed the slaves. Do you think we should have never freed the slaves? Do you
But
think
that
we
was a
should we
great
should
hook.
be?
That was a fantastic hook.
You think we should go back?
So in that video, I said we should never. I don't think. No, let me phrase it how I did it because it was so great. I love this hook. This is a fucking fantastic video because it gets everyone every time. And I said this is about my contents and IQ test. We should have never freed the slaves. Click, and I get into explaining of how people feel about black people in this country. Do I think slavery should never have ended? Why the fuck would I think that slavery should be still be going on? I'm black. Like, come on now. But I'm explaining the perspective that people are going to have about black people if we continue down this path of, why the fuck did we free these people? Why do we have these people here? Why do we still let these people in this country if all they're going to do is complain? If all they're going to do is sit back and argue and fight and kill each other and then want to kill us? Why the fuck would we want to have these people here? So, you know what? Maybe we should never free these fucking people. Maybe we should just let them go. Maybe we should just kept them, killed them all. That's the fucking opinion that people are going to get to. That's not impossible from thinking. We're not. That's not something that people won't ever get to. If you keep going out a certain path, if you keep fucking with a person, if you keep putting out a certain behavior, people are going to start having negative opinion. Jews have been kicked out of 109 countries. You don't think people got to a point of thinking like, maybe we should kick these people out the country.
Okay,
Maybe we should get rid of these people.
so now I have noticed that this is the second time you brought up the Jews in regard to a lot of things. Do you have any problem with the Jewish community?
Um, I don't have a problem. I don't have this blind hatred of people just because they exist. I don't have a hate. That's low IQ. That's like extremely stupid. You hate someone because they're different from you. That's fucking stupid. But I'm acknowledging a problem that we have in this country that Jews don't want to take accountability for their actions. White people are told to take accountability. Black people are told to take accountability. But for some reason, when we tell Jews to be taken to take accountability for their actions, they're told, no, that's anti-Semitic. We're seeing what's going on with Israel. When you criticize Israel and the actions of Israel, we criticize the amount of money that goes to Israel and the fact that our politicians are bought and paid for by Israel and they get tons of donations in their campaigns for it. Well, somehow you're an anti-Semite and you hate Jews and now you want it at all costs. No, I want you to be held accountable. I want you to sit back and to be beholden to the same standard that we all hold people to. If I could sit here and you and I can sit here on this podcast and talk massive shit about white people all day. Fuck white people. I can't stand white people,
I'll be honest,
and we'll
I
go
ain't never
viral.
heard you say anything negative about white people ever. I'm gonna be
I
honest.
talk about, like I said, I talk about white liberal women, how they're fucking
Okay,
retarded.
white
I talk
liberal
about white
women, but
men.
white. Okay,
Yeah,
so can I ask why? White. Here's my thing that I seem to notice, right? When we're talking about black people, when black people do something, it's talked about in a mass. Black men, black women, black people. Those are the big three. But
yeah,
when white people are getting criticized, we got white liberals. Now we got mental health issues. We got when someone commits a mass attack, what's a white person that commits, say, a school shooting? Now we're sitting there and we're saying, oh well, was he liberal? Was he trans? Was he this? He had mental health
yeah. It's
problems. But
like
black
stupid
people don't
shit.
get that.
That's
So
like low IQ CNN, Fox News boomers that do that. It's a mental health crisis all the way around. Like it's obviously it's not even it's a mental health crisis. I don't like this whole liberal. Well, were they trans or not? Like I don't fucking care if they were. The white community has a significant problem with mental health. We see that with the existence of the trans community, and the majority of white people are trans. That's a mental health problem that white people have and need to solve,
well, I
and that
think
comes from another problem that mirrors the black community, that you have weak white men in the household that are existent. They're there, they're present, they're in the child's life, but they've been neutered. Their masculinities have been completely neutered. If I criticize white people all day, if I say fuck white people, I can't stand white people, we could do that and we'll get some pushback. I think now we'll start getting some pushback, but nothing's really going to happen. Talk about black people. Fuck black people are fucking stupid. All fucking day. You can get some pushback, but nothing's gonna happen. The moment I say something about Israel or I say something about the Jewish community, you're gonna be met with anti-Semitic. You're gonna be met with, if you're living in Europe, you're gonna go to jail. You're gonna go to prison. If you're in the United States, you're gonna lose your job. You're gonna lose your bank account, right? They're gonna censor you. They're gonna deplatform you. They're gonna try to destroy your life. They're gonna do everything they can. If you're running for office, they're going to completely try to outfund you and condemn you as an anti-Semite and call you a Nazi. That's the reality of what we're dealing with, and we don't want to acknowledge it. And black people are completely oblivious to it because we think that, well, you know what, the Jews are the good whites, or all they're all white. Not the same. Not the same. Two different peoples. Completely two different peoples. And especially as Christians, we're going to take it from a religious aspect. Two separate religions. They have two separate practices and two separate behaviors.
How do you think you're gonna help Black people achieve your level of thinking, right? And try to be better for themselves, as you say.
Well, I don't have the solution for everything because I'm not God. I'm not Jesus
Well, no,
Christ.
you don't have a solution, but I'm just saying what
I'm
because
explaining. No, I'm
what can you
explaining. I'm explaining. The goal, like I said, for my content is to wake other black people up, to form a collective, to make black people more conscious of these problems. So that other black people will separate themselves from these issues, carry themselves in a way that's more fitting for who we are, and work towards building a better community. Now, none of this happens overnight. Like this is not like, well, I'm going to do this for a year and then we're going to win. This is a lifetime thing. I'll be doing this for the rest of my life. And I expect other black people to work and network with other black people who are willing to do that. And I really don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. That shit doesn't matter at the end of the day. The team that you subscribe to is no different than the football team you like on a Sunday. I care about the betterment of this country. I care about the betterment of Americans. I care about the betterment of black people. I care about the betterment of Christians. These things matter. There's three things you serve in life. Four if you believe in God: family, community, nation, and the last one was God. That's what I intend to serve each and every day, right? I'm going to serve the best interests of my family. I'm going to serve the best interests of the community, the people around me. And I'm going to serve the best interests of the nation that I have because the nation provides me everything. We, it's a grand collective we're a part of. And I'm going to serve the interests of God. That's my four.
do you think Christianity? Do you think we should govern off of the Bible and the rules of Christianity?
Well, I'm not this like Bible reader. I'm not into this like, well, you have to read the Bible and that makes you Christian. It's more of you read the Bible, you understand the teachings and the Word of God, and you have faith and belief in God and that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. And you act in the ways that in the moral standard of which Christian society have set. We live in the West. The West is Christian. All right. We live in the United States. It's a Christian majority country. Um, these are the values and the morals and the standards we've set. Submit to that, assimilate into that, or get the fuck out. Simple as that. If it's not compatible with you, then don't be here. If you have enough money to, I don't want to live here anymore, then save up some money and then get the fuck out. Go somewhere where it's cheaper because your money's going to carry more weight anyway. That's the beautiful thing about America. Even if you're the poorest dude here and you make, I want to get $20,000 and save up. Go to one, pick a country and go, and you'll probably be the richest person there. You'll be in the higher classes. So, listen, Christianity is of the West. The West is Christian. Be a Christian.
So can I challenge you with that and say this country was explicitly founded by the founding fathers to be not a Christian country, and even most of them
Mm,
weren't Christian. It's
mm,
very explicit in the language that it's not a.
mm.
What is
But the
the no?
majority of the people, the founding fathers in their literature, did not want the same problems that were going on in Europe, right? They didn't intend for this to be a multi religious state that has all these different. That's not how society worked at that time. You couldn't have multiple religions within a country working together because it doesn't work that way. And the countries that did didn't work. Just does not work. I'm all in favor of establishing as a Christian nation and saying this is a Christian homeland and the dominant language should be English. The people are Christian and allowing the denominations to go and flourish. I don't like Protestants, to be honest. I think Catholicism is probably a lot better. I'm not a Catholic myself. I align more Catholic in terms of my viewpoint. I think that having Christianity be at least governed by two different sects in the same way that Islam has two different sects of their religion. I hate having like 90 million fucking denominations like Protestants and then we're going to have the Lutherans and we're going to I think that's the biggest problem we have as Christians because we have Like all these people are just like, well, you know what? I'm a Mormon and like, I'm a
Right.
Jehovah's Witness. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't want to hear it. Like, no, I would rather argue between we got the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church, or maybe we'll take the Lutherans and or the Methodists. I'm fine with that. But I don't want to hear about all these other denominations. Like some of these people are goofy. They're Christian, but they're goofy. All right.
So
Well,
I still gotta argue that I don't think Christianity. I still don't think this is a like yeah the majority of the people here are Christian, right? There's gonna be a majority anywhere. There's gotta be more than another, but I don't think this place was ever intended to be a Christian country. And they even backed that up with document. I mean, sure, in all fairness, that was to promote trade with other countries, but
yeah.
I think it's very clear that this was not supposed to be a theocracy. This was not supposed to be governed by Christian values.
A theocracy. No, I don't think it would be a theocracy. I think the constitutional republic will still remain. But having it being said, like this is a Christian country. Like is Poland a theocracy, even though a good majority of the country is Catholic? Is let's look at an Eastern European country and their predominance of orthodoxy, Romania. Does that make them a theocracy? No. When we talk about theocracy, we're starting to get into the government is involved, the
Yeah.
church is involved, and it's tied together. No, saying that the people are Christian and we're going to promote Christian values and the framework of our entire society is going to be based off the framework of Christianity doesn't make it entirely like a theocracy where it's going to be like, oh, this suppressive state against other religions. It's like, listen, this is what we want. We don't want, I don't want Muslims controlling an entire city. I don't want atheists controlling an entire city. I don't want pagans. I don't want Hindus. And eventually I'm going to say no Protestants controlling an entire city. But we'll get to that later, right? We'll get to that later. But at the end of the day, if the people are in a majority and this is what they want, will to power, might makes right.
So what about other places that would argue that have more Muslim people? Should we start governing by Islamic principles, or is that
If a country has a Muslim majority and they want uh, Islam to be the majority within that area, within that country, then fine. But if a country is majority Christian and we have like these little like Muslim enclaves, like no, we don't want this here. You're not going to be no, fuck that. We don't want that. We're seeing that at Dearborn. I was just in Dearborn the other day. We've seen that in uh, I think there's some cities in Texas. We're seeing this across. We're looking at this across the Western world in Berlin and France and London. Um, it's not going well, and the goal in America should be like, we don't want this here. I don't know if you want your towns look like London, but London does not. If I'm a Christian in London or Paris, I'm like, what the
well
fuck? This is
we'll
crazy.
see. I'm going to London over the summer, so
You
we'll
going
find
to?
out. We'll find out.
Dude, be careful. All right, enjoy it. I mean, I think it'll be great. It'll be great that you're going to London. It's beautiful to see the
It
world.
it can't be that
But
fucked
yeah,
up. It can't be that
from
fucked
what
up.
I hear from the people I hear, I'm not talking about whiteys. I'm talking about blacks that have gone over. They don't like
I've
it.
heard it's fucked up too. I've heard the story, and I we'll find out. We'll
Yeah,
find out. I don't know,
yeah.
but I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with any religious group if they're the majority. But I also don't think we should be governed by any written religion, right? I don't think we should. I don't think we should. Now, I think obviously the Bible, and I think that they lay out good principles on how people should behave, right? I think that is true, but I don't
Yeah.
think we should. I don't think our government and our policies should like, for example, abortion is a big topic, and the biggest debate on it is obviously, Christians saying that it's against the word of God, right? You're killing a baby as written in the Bible, right?
Yeah.
So I think personally, I think if there's we've scientifically proven, conception and all that stuff isn't really the baby's not really conscious for any of that. So I have
And
no
we've
problem
proven
with
it. They
abortion.
are conscious. We've proven that it is conscious. I would say this.
You're saying a
What
fetus,
works?
a 3 week old, a three not maybe less, maybe a 2 week fetus is gonna
Yeah,
be
it's
conscious.
living, breathing. If we found the same identifiers from when we look at a fetus on another planet, we would say there's life on the planet, right? If we saw that, we were like, there's life. We wouldn't say, well, you know what? It's just a group of cells. It's not there. Well, of course, when we start seeing cell life, it's life. It's living, right? Now, its form hasn't taken the form that, or I would say, is in the same as we are, as we're sitting here now, but it's still living and breathing, right? It's still something that is alive and well. It's still a life form. It's still going to turn into a human and become
Well,
a
it
full
is.
form into what we are. So that's something that we know how the cycle of life goes. We know exactly how things become as they are. Wages are not up to where they should be. To have a child is extremely costly. So I'm not make the abortion argument for like, well, it's ungodly. We shouldn't do it. It's more of, well, it's not good for the nation. It's not good for the people. When we look at blacks and whites, we're below replacement rate. We should be having strong families. I don't want people to abort their children because they want to. I think that's fucking disgusting. I think that's immoral. But I can
Mhm.
understand why, a young girl doesn't want to have a child because she can't afford it, or why a young couple don't want a child because it's like that's going to be too costly, and I don't want to be a bad parent. And I think that I wouldn't be good enough to raise this child. This isn't the fucking 1840s. Well, my grandfather had 9 children on a farm, and we turned out right, and it's like, yeah, three of you are missing a leg, and another one's five of you are alcoholics, and it's like, yeah, you guys turned out very well. I don't want that. I don't want that. So, if you fix the economic issue, if you make having children economically viable, um, and provide an incentive for people to have children and strong families, then the abortion arm would just fucking just destroy it. And then you can make the moral argument about abortion, and it just loses weight because it doesn't fit with the moral framework of the country. But as long as the economics don't fit in with having a child, people are going to be for abortion. So if it endangers a child's life, if it endangers the mother's, because I'm going to be honest, I don't want retarded children. And then also, if the mother is going to be in danger, I don't want her to be, because we want her to be able to have more children. Um, if those two things come into play, then abortion is necessary, right? It's very necessary. I don't want children to be deformed and have deficiencies, and I don't want women
Hold
to
on,
lose their
but
life.
so hold on. So a retarded child is still
Yeah,
there's still a clump of cells by your own logic. They're still
yeah,
alive, but we can kill retarded kids, but not
because they're going to be
non-retarded
more of a
kids.
because they're going to be more costly on the state. It's going to be more costly on the state, more costly on the family, more of a stress. Go and talk to somebody, a parent who's raised like children who
No,
have
I
it's difficult.
listen.
It's
I would never
difficult
do
for
it.
them.
I never do it myself, but
I don't know how you could do it, but
but
why we want to put that pain if we can already predict these things and expect these? Why would we want to put that pain on a parent? Now, if that parent wants to make the
no.
decision, by all means, I think we should support them. I think the state should support them. But honestly, want to move away from that. I think that we shouldn't be allowing that. If a child comes out with like, oh, they're going to have, fucking 6 feet. I don't know. They're going to have like nine instead of, I don't know. They're going to come out just all ill-informed and shit. We've got to do something about it. All right. Because that's a big problem. I don't want that. I'm big on eugenics. I'm big on,
What
racial
the whoa
hygiene.
whoa! You
We
can't say
should
you're
be.
big on eugenics.
Why not?
Well, I mean, you can't say it, but you can't just drop that normally. You're big on eugenics, like.
Abortion's a form of eugenics.
And hold on. So
It
abortion.
is.
So you don't agree with abortion because we're killing living people, but at the same time,
I don't
we can
agree
kill them
when
if they're
someone
retarded.
says, I don't agree with someone saying, you know what? I just fucked like these three guys and one of them came to me. You know what? I don't want to have this baby because I'm living my best life right now and I don't give a fuck. No, you're going to have that kid. Shut the
What
fuck
and
up.
and
Um,
you think that this woman that just got nutted on by three guys, you think
yeah, like these
she
rich
should
white
have a baby?
girls, like these rich white girls, like, you know what? I just don't know because I'm in the
Yeah.
prime of my life. It's like,
So we're setting this
yeah,
baby
have a
up to be
child.
fucked. That
We're
baby's gonna
setting
be
the baby to
fucked.
be fucked up. Well, she's setting herself because she chose to sit back and
I
have
know,
sex. She chose to do
but
that.
now that baby's gonna be fucked up.
And
Now
babies
that
can be fucked because the mother is fucking. And this is why we need to build strong families because you know what a good father would have told her: don't be a whore. And if you're gonna go out and do these things, uh, wear some
be
protection
safe.
and pick your men well. So this comes back to how we operate in society. So I'm not gonna make excuses like, well, we're gonna let her slide because fuck that. No, 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 hell no. We're gonna scrutinize the hell out of her. We need to shame it. But when it comes to eugenics, do I want people who have mental deficiencies or problems in their birth and their life? Because that's a big problem. I don't want them to suffer. That's suffering. I don't want them to suffer at all. It's no different than I don't want people to suffer at all. So if I can predict that and say like, hey, ma'am, you're gonna have a child that's gonna have these problems. Here's the options, and they want to take that option of like, I don't want to have to deal with that. Then most definitely let them decide that. But I don't have to sit there and put that on them and like, well, this is no, 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 no. We have the ability to say like, hey, this is what we want. Here's what we do want. This is the kind of society we want to have. We don't want these kind of people. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's more humane. Why would you want someone who has these kind? It is very humane.
But
I want you to think about it.
you don't think they deserve the right to experience life? You don't think they should be
Why don't
able
we
to
have
experience
we
life?
have a right to decide how we want our society to go? And someone's going to say, well, then I have the right to decide how I want my body to go. Well, the thing is that, like I said, they're two different things at the end of the day. one takes more precedent, and one has more of an issue. One is more important than the other. Like your individual personal need and your individual personal feeling doesn't really fucking matter when it comes to the overall trajectory of society. When I was in the army, in one of the dining facilities, right, they would have the civilian workers, and the civilian workers were, I would say, a mix of black. We had a few whites there who were like old, but mainly black, majority black. Most of the staff had some kind of mental deficiency, like they had something going on mentally, or they were deformed. It was just crazy shit. And it was almost like almost every dining facility I went to, I would see this, and I'm like, why are they having this? And then I think sometimes they would have like some of the kids that would do like these work programs for children who had certain disabilities or who were teenagers who had certain disabilities. I'm like, why would I want to have these people working? Like that's just I don't want these people to be working. First, I want them to be sitting at home. I want them to be sitting at home, enjoying and being comfortable in life. But two, why would I want anyone to live a life like that? There's two things. I don't want to be abuse these people and have them fucking working. No, don't want that. I want a society that's going to be able to take care of them if they are born. But if I could prevent more of them being born, I would. That's nothing wrong with that. I want to take care of these people while they're living, the ones who are born, the parents who make that conscious decision that I'm going to have this child, I'm going to raise them. Okay, I think we should take care of you and your child. I think you don't have to worry. We're going to take care of your child and you'll be fine. But I also want to be able to prevent that because to me, that's a life of suffering. I don't want you to suffer in life. I really don't.
I
We want to end as much suffering as we can in the world. When it comes to poverty, when it comes to war, we want to do as much as we can. Life, as it is about struggle. Struggle is eternal. We're always going to struggle in life, but we want to, of course, cut off as much. We want to have more happy days than we do days of struggling, don't we?
well, no, I agree, but I think once we have a life,
Exactly.
once once that life is, because you say that life starts at the conception, right?
Yes.
That's where we're at. I think by your standards, though, I think we're just killing people now. It's
No,
just
we're not
we're
just
just
killing people.
huh?
We're not just killing people. No.
Well, I mean, there's sure we can justify it with they're not gonna suffer, but I think at that point, I think every living person has the right to experience life
You think
if they're
so?
living.
Are you pro life or pro choice?
I am pro-choice.
You're pro
I don't
choice.
believe that they're born at conception. So that's where
Well,
I
you just said
disagree.
that you believe that everyone should have the right to life, right?
Yeah, when they're born, yeah, when they're
Okay.
alive and a living being, yeah.
So, I mean, there's a living being when they're in the stomach. What I'm saying is that also we have the choice to decide for the grand trajectory of our society. We should also look at it in this way, because, like I said, the abortion argument on the I just want to do it just because shit. Everything that's like a minor of the cases. Not that many people are making those kind of decisions. I even that's already going to fade away regardless. Most people have abortion because of the economic. We solve the economic issue. You no longer have this abortion talk. You no longer have this shit. Because most of the women who sit back and defend abortion, one, they've never had a fucking abortion, and they're just defending it because, oh, I just want to have the ability. It's like people who are like, I want to decriminalize crack cocaine and meth. It's like, are you going to do it? No, I just want to be able to have the right to. It's like that's fucking retarded. That's stupid. You're not even going to use it. What are you trying to decriminalize it for? You're not even going to use it. It doesn't make any sense. But then we have to look at the do I want people to suffer? If you care about life, you care about people, and we have this egalitarian worldview, then why do we not care about the people who are born into this world and they have these mental deficiencies, they have all these problems that are just a problem, and they're suffering. Now, yes, we've heard stories of people who have these problems, and guess what? They go on to live fantastic lives, and that's wonderful. But it should be a choice if the parent wants to deal with that, and we should give them an option if they want to deal with that. We shouldn't just say, well, they should just be born and let them fuck that, because then we don't take care of these people when they get out. We usually don't take care of these people when they get out into the world.
No,
They're
no, no.
born. I
I've
guess we
seen
don't
that.
care.
No, they're coddled up until they leave. They graduate high school, and then they're thrown
Yep.
back into society. I think that's a massive
And
problem that
guess
we
what?
have.
That's how you start getting these people who are on the subways in New York. That's how you start getting these people who are roaming around in Chicago and Detroit. This is how we get the problem we have with mental health, with the mental health crisis we have in this country. So my solution, it may not sound nice, but a lot of things don't sound nice. Would you rather have these people walking around and they're going to be abused by the rest of the system? They're going to be abused in this country. They're going to be not taken care of. Or would you rather give the parent a choice to say, this is what I want, and also be able to prevent these things as they come? If we can be able to detect these things at like the first few weeks, like, this child's going to be retarded. And you're like, you know what? I don't want to do that.
Listen, I'd say that. Listen,
Fine.
I will concede, and I'll say I would say that. I would say that
There we
personally
go.
if I was in that situation. But at the same time, though, I find the why they get grace and they don't get to suffer, right? Because I don't think anyone should suffer too. But also at the same time, though, the mom that fucks up and ends up having a baby daddy, and now they're gonna have a kid, and their life is gonna be fucked up. Why can't they get an abortion?
Because we should be telling these families to be strong and have a strong. The reason why you have family is not just for the mom and dad. It should be mom, dad, grandpa, the aunties. A family shouldn't just be, just these two people. Of course, the household, most definitely, but to raise that family. If your dad's not there, you should be talking to your grandfather. If your grandfather's not there, you should be talking to your uncle. You should be talking to somebody that's a male role. If you're a woman raising a child, you should be very close to the next person, the next male in your life. And we don't enforce that in the black community. We don't fucking promote that in the black community. We tell you can do all good by yourself, girl. You can take it. You don't need no nigga in your life. We make music about this. We make movies about it. And then we look how fucked up the children are. No. So completely different standard. We need to hold people. If you're having a child and you're fucking this dude, you know he ain't shit, and you have a child, you can raise that child, but you need to go talk to your father. You need to connect with your grandfather. You need to connect with more strong male role models in your life. I'm not really talking to the old niggas that have already fucked up. We can't save our parents' generation. Fuck them. They're already 1 foot in the grave. I don't really care about them. But our generation, and this is really what my content really should be for, and I need to work better on and trying to appeal to a lot of us. We have to do a lot more work than these people do. Honestly, when we look at how the community is, we can blame our parents for failing. Honestly, a lot of the shit that does not work in our community is because of our fucking parents. They didn't. They let the drugs come into the community. They made all the music about the killing and the shooting, and they let the women sit back and denigrate themselves. That comes from their generation. It doesn't come from us. We've been born into it. We need to reject that, fight against it, and build something that actually represents us as a generation. I think there's a lot of black people in their 20s and in their teens. They're waking up to that. They just don't know where to go and find that. They're waking up and realizing the problems. They don't know who to connect with and how to get away from it. Because if they do, they try to step out. They're cool. You and Uncle Tom. You ain't black enough. Fuck that. If this is being black, I don't want to be black.
Well,
I want to be something different.
I think the reason why they call you a coon and an Uncle Tom, I don't think it's because you want the betterment of the people. Because everybody at the end of the day wants to see their people succeed, right? I think
You
the
know who mostly does it? Like I
who
said, it's the older generation. It's
well
the older fucking generation. The most of the people who come in my comment sections to say this shit, older generation. You know what? The people who reach out to me the most, people who are in their 20s, people in their teens. They sit back, they listen, they have a conversation. The old heads, I argue with the most. I argue with
well
fucking the
well
black Gen
yeah
Xers
they're
all
hard
day.
headed. They're hard headed.
Yeah. So
Old people are hard headed. That's a fact. But
generation crack rock. Why the fuck we gonna listen to them? Like,
no, but at the same time though, I don't think you're, with all due respect, I don't think you're causing any betterment for the community because you
how
could go
so?
because you could go to, like, for example, remember when you were talking about doing your HBCU tour about
Yeah.
accountability?
Had to postpone that, yeah.
So when you do that, right, I don't think that holds any benefit because those people, they already made it to college. Their parents already got them to where they should be. They are in college and they are getting a higher education to better themselves. So I don't think
It
they're,
depends on what college you go. Most HBCUs, no, they're fucking. They got there off of bullshit, which is the problem. Um,
come on. I think
this
at the
is
end of the day, at least they're getting it. At least they're somewhere. I think you're starting in a
uh,
poor spot. Uh,
so I've yeah. See,
I find that
I
I
think
find
that we
that
should.
ridiculous.
This is why I kind of want to postpone and just do black cities. Do predominantly black areas. The college is a lot more safer in terms of security, and I'd like to have a conversation with it because it's important. Why would I not want to have a conversation with the next generation of leaders and get them to understand it? So either way, it's still a good tactic. But I shouldn't leave them out and be like, well, I shouldn't talk to them because these are the people I want to go into a profession. They have a different mindset than what the fuck their parents are teaching them. The parents are teaching them to be fucking victims. The parents are teaching them to be fucking whiny crybabies. The parents are teaching them to sit back and to cry about slavery. Fuck that. No, nigga, we're the next generation. These old heads, they didn't do. Being honest, everything we look at, this irks the hell out of me. Because you see these people, they're talking about we need these old black people. Oh, we need to do the revolution. We need to make some change in our community. Nigga, you had 40 years to make change. You didn't do a fucking thing in your 20s. You didn't do anything in your 30s. You was sitting back driving Escalades, smoking fucking Newports and drinking Alizane. Don't sit here and try to tell me we need to make change now when you're 50 and your hip is broken and you're sitting over here limping and walking with a cane. Don't sit here and tell me that you want to make a change with your Carl Thomas listening ass. I don't want to hear that shit.
See, the thing that I realize is that a lot of your black a lot of your black topics and a lot of your issues with the way that these people are, they're a lot based off of stereotypes. I ain't never seen niggas like some of these examples you've given, right? I think these are extremely exaggerated for the point, but I don't think niggas like
Well,
this
Mr.
exist.
Mr. Marshall, you don't live in the hood like I live in the hood. You don't haven't grown up. I'm gonna be
Maybe
honest.
that's you might be right.
I'm,
You
I'm
might
be
be
honest
right.
with
No,
you,
you might be
and
right.
I
You
would
might
say
definitely be
this
right.
is something that happens a lot because I'll get people of your background who interview me, and it's fair. I'm not knocking you. You know, you live
No,
your
no,
life, and
no. Go.
honestly, I
I
respect
take
you. Love you.
criticism. I take
I
criticism.
love this conversation. It's not even criticism because it's not even you. I have no problem with you, but it's people. A lot of black people who live in the suburbs who will sit back and say, "I don't like your content because it's not true," and these niggas have never had to live in the hood. They never had to live around the nigga shit. They never had to sit back and listen to helicopters fly over their head. They never had to fucking sit here and listen to gunshots. They never had to sit back and see someone OD at a fucking park as your kid. They never had to deal with those issues. I've had to deal with those issues. And I came back home after I left the army to see it even more as a grown fucking man that has now served this country. Was hoping to come back home and see something a little bit different. But no, I'm seeing the same shit as I saw as a kid, if not worse. So that's why I when I hear people who will sit back and tell me that it's exaggerated, come live in Detroit, come live in Chicago, go live in Baton Rouge, go down to Fayetteville where I was stationed, right? At Fort Bragg. Go to Richmond, go to Atlanta, go live around where niggas live. Don't go around the suburbs and live where the black liberals and black conservatives run to. Go live around these people every day and you sit back. Go buy an apartment at these places and see how it is. You're not gonna like it. You ain't gonna like the shit. Me and you go to a store. They already know you and I are different because of the way we speak and the way we carry
See,
ourselves.
that's the thing.
Telling
In
you,
my experience, that's not always the case, right? When I go into neighborhoods like Dorchester and neighbor that in my area that are or Lowell that aren't really good neighbor
Mr. Marshall,
areas, I face
Dorchester ain't like
it
O
ain't nothing
Block.
like O Block. I will say
Exactly.
that it ain't nothing like O Block. But when I go to neighborhoods in my community that are
Uh
more
huh.
urban, I get profiled just the same. I've had that talk with cops, and we're so I don't consider myself different. At the end of the day, I'm a nigga, and I think at the end of the day, you are also a nigga. At the end of the day,
You are not a nigga. You and I are not niggas.
now
You don't. Your
obviously,
background isn't nigga. Maybe I'm more of a nigga than you are, but you definitely, and especially you being 18, you ain't no nigga. Don't look at you as a nigga. You're a black man. And
I
you're
agree with
18.
that statement. I agree with that statement. But
You
at the
ain't
end of the
no
day,
nigga.
when we're in these situations where people that have these stereotypes and these racial biases, I'm a nigga and you're a nigga. At the end of the day,
Nope.
we could
It's the
say,
way
oh,
that you carry
when
yourself.
we carry ourselves, that's not true.
It is true.
I do not believe that, and
How is it not true?
I think obviously the way you carry yourself it changes a lot of things obviously, but I think at the end of the
Okay.
day, if you are in an area where you are getting profiled, I don't think they're gonna look at you and say he's different. He ain't one of us. And I think this is what the house
Profile
Negro
and
mentality
pro,
is. What I think that is what
profile.
it
I'm
is.
not a house nigga. Like I said, I'm from the hood, so I don't. What house have I lived in other than
No,
the nigga shit? I've been in the
I'm not saying.
plantation
I'm
with
just saying
niggas.
it's the mentality of the fact that we, at the end of the day, I can't change the way I look. You can't change the way you look.
I'm not
And
changing the.
on a race way, right?
Mr.
We look.
Marshall,
We're
I'm
black.
gonna ask you this question.
Mhm.
You get pulled over. You think the cops
I
gonna do to you?
I have been pulled over, and I have not had any negative experiences getting pulled over because I've
Okay.
only been pulled over twice in my life. So
I've been pulled over about maybe 10 times for speeding. I'm gonna pull over for speeding.
oh yeah,
Doing. I'll give you this.
okay.
Pulled over on Fort Bragg. Usually, when you get caught speeding on a military installation, they ban your license for about a year.
Oh really?
They ban the shit. Yeah, they ban your shit. Caught speeding, doing a 75 and a 45. I had a Hyundai Veloster. I love the car. Car was nice. Speeding like a motherfucker in that car. Cops pulled me over. Two white cops. I had a gun on me. Cops pulled me over. Didn't have any concealed carry. Open carrying a gun, but the state laws in North Carolina was completely different, so I could do that. Had a gun on me. Cops pulled me over. Didn't get me any trouble. Gave me a ticket. Moved on. I'll give another example. Long day at work. Got off. Went to the park. Grabbed me a bottle of wine. Sat in the car. Drunk it. Fell asleep in the car. MPs came over. Looked at the car. Saw the open container. One white cop, one black cop. Didn't give me a ticket since I lived down the street. They let me drive home. They just followed me home. drove home, was cool. The only time I felt that it was a little bit of some racial shit, I was speeding again in North Carolina. My wife was in the car. Pulled over a car. It was late at night. Cops were already pulling somebody over. They were pulling over a white guy. They got out, pulled my ass over. You almost hit me. You understand? You almost hit me with your car. You were going way too fast. Slow it the fuck down. Let me see your license. I'm like, I'm sorry. I've turned the engine off, everything. Cuss me clean the fuck out. Listen, go home. Make sure you watch what you're doing next time. I could tell they were some country boys. They calmed that shit down. Spoke correctly. I carried myself in a. But I didn't. What the fuck you pulling me, nigga and bitch and these hunkies? Now that's when they start getting. Oh, of course, we got typical fucking nigga over here doing this shit. That's when they start getting uppity with you because you got uppity. You fit the stereotype. You fit the profile. Is it right? Are there cases where black people who don't fit the profile? It was what 9 girls who got kicked out of a restaurant because 2 girls were fighting. And they thought they were all with them, and now they're gonna be suing for discrimination. Is that right that they all got kicked out? No. But you know what the sad part is? That the fact of the matter, the fact at the end of the day is that it's other niggas that do more harm to our image than we do. You and I, we're not doing harm to black people. We don't do any harm to our image. These niggas do harm. So that means that good black people who aren't doing the wrong thing, we get fucked over.
You know what?
Other people look at us differently. And that's the fucking problem that we have because we don't police our own.
I would argue that some of, not all, but I think your heart is in the right place, but I think some of the things of your statements and the way that you talk about black beauty fraud, I think it also disparages black people because you talk about, oh, black community, we're all fucked up. That's basically the way it sounds to me. It sounds like we're all fucked up, and now that's why people are racist to us because we're fucked up because our communities are fucked up. That's what it sounds like. You're really getting at it. The point is, they're racist because we're fucked up, right? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that our actions and our behavior, Martin Luther King fought and died on the belief that a man will be judged on the content of his character, not the color of his skin. Well, we live in a day and age where you're judged on the content of your character, not the color of your skin. And when we look at the content of black people's character, in a majority, it's not something that people are too fond of, and we aren't fond of. So my goal is to call out and to, yeah, we're going to be general, because when you're talking about culture and race, you have to look at what's the majority behavior, what's the current framework of the culture, how are people behaving, and we have to call it out as such. Can't really separate like, well, we can only talk about the good blacks over here, and we'll talk about the niggas, and we got to be more specific. No, nigga culture is black culture. There's no separation. This ain't the 90s where it's a 50-50, where it's kind of like we go one direction or the nigga culture won in the 90s and the early 2000s. And now we're living in it. Nigga culture won. Black culture that I think was coming out the 70s and 80s and into the 90s in terms of our music, the way we made the film, and where we were carrying ourselves, the way we dress, that lost. That was lost. That's gone. We're
I don't
never
think
going
we're
back to
living.
that.
I don't think we're living in nigga culture. I don't think we live in nigga culture. I think there
You
is
don't
a.
think
I
we
think
live in
there
that
is a
culture?
difference. I think nigga culture is where it's prominent. I don't think we're living in nigga culture though. I think that black culture. I think black culture still exists, and I think that's a big part of
It
society.
exists, but it isn't the majority. That's the point I'm trying to get to. We're not gonna. No one's conforming to. We are told we have to conform into the nigga shit. We are told we got to sit here and do the YN nigga shit. Like I said, you and I, we get around some black people. They gonna most definitely call you and I. We may not agree politically. We can be both right wing. You can be left wing. But the moment they see you and I, these niggas on the street see you and I, they're not gonna think that we're fucking that we're any different. They're gonna look at us just the same, and that's the problem. That's the problem. They're going to treat us just the same way. They're going to sit back and look at you as a coon, just like they look at me as a
See,
coon.
here's
That's
the
the
thing though.
problem.
I've never in my life been. I This is where I disagree. I could say it. I grew up in a predominantly white area. I got no problem with that. But I have never been called a coon, an Uncle Tom, or any of that in my life by any other black people I meet from the inner city, by anybody. I have not been called that because I think again your videos are all, oh, black people are the most racist people with that goes unchecked. I know you, that's a big
But we
take you
are.
have, right?
Yeah.
But I personally have never experienced being called a coon and Uncle Tom, and I don't think they would see me as that. Hey, that's just my personal opinion.
Say this, the way that you speak, the way you carry yourself, the fact that where you come from, they will. Maybe not
I
now, but they will.
I
And
see.
unfortunately, that's how it is. That's how it was for me. It wasn't, I was talking about these things and they happened because I spoke differently,
No, I've
because
been
I carry
listen. I've
myself
been called
differently.
whitewash. That's I will say I've been called white once. That's the thing that I've been called. But you know what's crazy?
There
I've
you
been
go.
called that. What's crazy about that though is that I get called that more by white people than I
White
do by
people.
black people. That's
Yeah.
the thing that people never. That's never something that's
I
talked about.
always
Is
talk about that. Oh yeah, I always talk about that because you know why? Because these white guilt liberals want they feed off of this. Why don't you act like a nigga so I can sit back and try to look for your validation and appeal to you? Oh, the reason why the black man doesn't have money is because because of me, white person. The reason why Tyrone robbed and killed those 9 people is because of me, white person. They feed off of that shit. So when they see they can't feed off of that energy from you, you're whitewashed. You're so whitewashed. Oh, you've been around so many white people. That's their self hatred.
see
That's their self hatred.
no, the thing is when people the white people that call me that I would they're usually pretty racist. They're usually not that liberal. See, I think the liberal character in your mind, I have not experienced that in my life. The people that are saying, "Oh, you don't act black and you don't talk black," those are
Give me a
usually the white
description of
people
like the
that are.
people who called you whitewash.
Okay,
I need to
okay.
see
Let's
that.
actually okay. Let me actually give you a description. This because this fat son of a bitch. He comes. He was. I never spoke to this guy in my life. Right. We had one physics class together, and this motherfucker, he would come in and just say some racist shit to me for no reason. Some shit about watermelon fried chicken every day. And I'd be sitting there, I'd be sitting in class, mind my business, and I'd look at him and I'd just be like,
Based.
what the fuck is? I'd genuinely be like, what the fuck is this nigga talking about? What is he talking? And like, and it got to a point where like we got into some issues because I started calling him a fat fuck, and he didn't really like that. But then sometimes he'd be talking to me and he'd just be like, like, are you really black? Like you don't act black. And I just look at him and I'm just like, you're a fucking racist. What? I don't even like. He was actually a racist. I'm not even gonna lie. I hate that fat stubby fuck. But anyway, unrelated to that, I think
Well, I
people
would
like
say
that.
that that's the type. So that right there is like high school, just shitting
No,
on you, bro. Like I'm not gonna lie, that's like high school
no,
shit,
that's some
dude.
high school shit. I hated that
But
motherfucker.
but
But
but I would say what he said is something you're gonna hear again. You
no,
don't act black. What the fuck is acting black? What do you think is
I agree
acting
with that.
black?
No,
Tell
I
me.
agree. I don't think there is an acting black. I think because even
You
then,
don't
I
think
think
so?
even when you talk about the black, even when you talk about black people, I think the way white people see us in their head are we have the thugs and nigga shit as you call it. I think that's the way people are seen. But I think
So
there's a
doesn't
whole
that
art.
prove my
Hold on.
point?
But there's a whole archetype that I think has become forgotten in the last 5 to 10 years. I think of like just like the regular like nerdy black like the Steve Urkels. That's a real group of people. That's a real group of people, but we don't talk about those people anymore. And I'm saying that in a respectful way. That's something we don't talk about.
Them niggas, I don't ever see them niggas no more. Them niggas,
See,
they
I
ran them
see them.
niggas
I
out.
see them. I see them all the time. But they don't get mentioned. They get shoved to the side. That
The
archetype of
niggas
black is
that.
gone.
Do we want that architect? The Steve Urkel, look at me. I'm a
Listen, do
fucking
I
like I don't
do
want
I
that
love that
goofy
archetype?
shit.
No, but is
I hope
that
not.
is that it? That's a real thing that exists. So when people say you don't act black, and then I'm like, well, there's so many different ways to act black.
Of course. The reality is what I said. Being black today is being a nigga and acting like a nigga. And that's what we see on the TV. That's what we hear on the radio. And that's what they see walking down the street. Being black today is being a nigga. Being black, like I want to be, ain't what the fuck it is right now. You and I would say, is the black that I want to be. We can sit here and have a conversation. You speak clearly, concise. We can understand each other. We're forward thinking. We're thinking think greater beyond ourselves. We're able to have a conversation respectfully. And I think that's black. I think that's what black used to be. But today, being a nigga, if we was two niggas, we probably putting guns at the fucking camera and shit, and saying, "Pull up, nigga. Where's your address?" Because we disagreed on one thing. That's a nigga culture and nigga behavior, and that comes in many different forms. There's many different types of niggas. They get many different behaviors of niggas, many different prime focuses of niggas. Niggas have primary objectives. These niggas are very sophisticated. People like us, the sad part ain't that many of us. I say 20% of the black community is us.
You know,
20%.
from my experience, I would say I disagree. I think most black people are functioning like myself, and but I think at the same time though, you're making it a us versus them mentality. At the end of the day, we're all the same. We're all black people. At the end of the day, we're all black people.
We're not all the same.
I
See,
think
this is where we get into
as a
like the
community, I think we are all the same. I think we
as
have
a
to
community.
take we have to take that approach to life. I think every other community, we are
We
all the
can't.
same.
That's not how it works around the world. Not everyone's the same. You can say, well, all Asians are the same. So why the fuck are the Chinese and the Japanese right now having
Okay,
beef?
well that's a
You know,
big. Well, that's very different from we are
all the Arabs
Black
are the
American.
same. So you know why? What I'm saying is that we're talking about racial groups, groups of people. Asians are an entire racial group, right? Entire
True.
ethnic group, whatever. And then guess what? They're going to have their own conflicts within their own respective communities, in the broad sense, and more specifically, in the nation they may live in together. Same thing is true for Black Americans. We all black, but guess what? A Black American is different from an African. An African is different from somebody from the Caribbean. A Black person who may have who lives in Brazil is different from somebody who lives in Jamaica or the United States. Yeah, we're all the same because we are phenotypically similar and we have an ancestral connection to a certain place that is similar, but we're different culturally, linguistically, in terms of our way of life, our morality. All of that is different. This is just race realism 101, bro. People are different on the individual level, and as groups individually, we're different. We're not all the same. I don't want to all be the same. I want a common focus, a common culture, a common identity, a shared unity. We don't have that. And that's the problem. And that's why
But
I
I
shit
think,
on the current
but
framework of the
I don't
country.
think your framework because you're saying, oh yeah, me and you are the same. No, I don't subscribe to that. I don't think we are the same. I don't think there's any. I think I want to see black people succeed. You want to see black people succeed, right? Right? You want to see black people succeed, obviously, as
Of
a people,
course.
of course. But I think at the end of the day, saying, "Oh, well, we're different than them," and "Oh, yeah, we're the good ones," I don't think that's productive at all.
I didn't say we were the good ones. I don't even use that type of language
But
because I don't like using that shit. Because I don't even like hearing that. When I hear fucking white people come like, "Well, we're one of the good ones," like, shut the fuck up. There is no good black. Like, that shit's goofy. There is no
no,
fucking good
I
black. I
agree.
think that shit's like disgusting as fuck. Don't tell me I'm a good black.
Exactly, I
Fuck
agree.
that. Never subscribe to that. But there is a standard of black that we need to set for ourselves. And there are a lot of people who are below that standard. And guess what? Not everyone's going to get there. And I don't expect them to get
No,
there.
that's true.
I can't save everybody. I'm not fucking Jesus Christ. God bless him. You know, Lord, but I guess what? You can't fix everything in this world. You can only fix those who want to be fixed. What J. Cole says, you don't want to be saved.
No,
Don't save
like
her.
I see your point, but I think at the end of the day, I think we need to take some action to try to make corrections and try to fix our community. I don't think
What do
what
you
you're
think I'm
doing
doing?
is causing. I don't think what you're doing is fixing the community.
It most certainly is. A lot of black people wake up and they like, hey, I love your content. I want to reach out to you. I see what you're saying. If a lot of people say like, hey, I have a different taste about you, a different opinion of you about you because I've sat back and watched the live stream. I like what you're doing. I want to see more from you. Yeah. One, we don't have any leaders. We don't have any leaders. We don't have any shining examples that tell people not to do this shit. We have people that glorify it. See, I'm doing a lot. Being a part of a community of people who tell, like, hey, black people, don't fucking do this dumb shit that these people that are getting paid millions upon billions of dollars to make music and movies and all this entertainment shit to tell you to be like that. I'm telling you not to be like that.
Hold on,
It is doing something.
you don't think they should be like they should make millions of dollars in entertainment?
Nah, fuck these people. If I had my way, like people like Cardi B, Sexy Red, all these fucking rappers, they'd be fucking poor. We put them in the fucking gulag, bro. Fuck them, bro. They're
The
terrible.
gulag?
Yeah, bro. We put them in the gulag, bro. We're gonna put them in the gulag. Fuck them.
What the fuck did they do?
Uh, they're pushing the poison in this fucking community. All these people, gulag, bro.
Okay, okay,
Gulag, bro. And
drug dealers, drug,
GTA 6, right? We're gonna get the
drug
gulag.
dealers. Okay, all right,
Yeah.
drug dealers. Okay, that's fair. But I think
But they're no different than the rapper that pushes the glorifies the violence. You think someone like King Von,
okay. Well,
even though
King
he's
Von,
dead,
he needed to go.
that he needed to go.
We
But
know he needed to go.
he inspired dozens of
That's true.
rappers,
No,
hundreds of rappers
people
just
like
like him.
that do need to go, but not
Okay.
at the end of the day. Music is music, in my personal opinion. I don't think like I don't I
I
don't
think
listen to
Sexy
music.
Red's music is music.
I don't personally listen to Sexy Red, but
You think
I
Pluto? You know what's that girl? The Lululemon, the Pluto. Look, yeah, her name was
I don't
Pluto.
even know who the fuck that is to be honest.
Little she did they made up
But I
a
don't.
little lemon. You know that song? That song is so fucking irritating. Hoes love that song.
But
Go
when
to the
I
club, you're gonna hear it.
no, so to when I go to the club with my friends and stuff like that, I see a lot of people turning up to Sexy Red and artists like that. But at the end of the day, like I don't think that's the cause. I don't think that's a neg. I don't think that's a cause. I think you could turn up and then disassociate that with what's going on. I think you can.
Yeah,
You don't gotta subscribe. I don't think the music is what's pushing people to be that way.
it is. So music inspires a lot. Music is a part of
I
culture,
agree.
right? Music has inspired revolutions. All right, music has been. I mean, the main motivator for the Soviets fighting the war in World War II was the music that was made and inspired during that time. Throughout the revolution, it would inspire the French Revolution. Come on now, like music has inspired grand movements. Um, has empowered people, even throughout the South. A very uplifting. Come on, Negro spirituals, the blues, jazz, all that was inspiring for Black people. Come on now, music is very important,
No,
and
I
music will
agree.
define a people. The music that people listen to really define a person. If I sit back and listen to fucking Cuzzos and fucking and Niglet jams all day and the Jigaboo jams of the day, and this is all we put out, and it's
What the fuck
about
is a jigaboo jam?
you know Jigaboo jams.
What the fuck is a jigaboo jam?
Nigga shit, nigga shit, nigga shit. That's what it is. Jigaboo jams. You listen to like Cardi B and all these other people.
That's a jigaboo jam.
What's the those? That's fucking just nigga shit, dude. It's not Gary Taylor. It's not Kenny Lattimore. It's not Shantae
Oh, I
Moore.
love Kenny
It's
Lattimore.
not Tony Brack. It's not Tony Brack's. Yeah. It's not the black women who are making music. It's not Destiny's Child. It's not all that
Mhm.
shit that was black. It may have some a sexual element to it, right? But it wasn't this overly, I'm fucking all these niggas and I got this bag of weed and I'm shooting and he got a Glock with a switch and we going to jail. Like that shit is not cute. I'm fighting these bitches. I'm gonna beat that bitch. It's not baddies. We didn't, why are we glorifying this fucking culture? These people are making this music, they're making this entertainment, and it feeds into the most primitive ways of man. It brings us back to the most primitive point that man can be and destroys our image immensely. And we glorify it because that's what, one, it makes money. It makes money. And we have a lot of our
It
record
does.
companies are controlled by other people, most notably Jews who run the record companies, and then black people. Where I always criticize, we can make note that Jews run the record labels because I always say it's white people, it's Jews that run the record labels, but it's black people who are aggressive in recruiting and promoting these artists. They go into communities. I'm going to shit on them fucking heavily because they're the ones who are selling us to these people. They're no different than the African slavers. The people in the fucking rap industry that go and find these nigglets and make this dog shit music about killing each other and selling drugs are no different than African slavers. They're no different. And we should treat them as such. We should treat them as such. So I despise these people.
So, are you gonna? So, do you think that stuff like your HBCU tour is going to have betterment for the black community and the people at those colleges?
But yeah, I think that's going to work. Start a conversation, bring these ideas from off the screen and onto the table, onto the sidewalk. I think that's good. And I'd rather do black cities than do the
Well,
HBCUs,
yeah,
but that's
because
a whole mess.
I don't think that that's the best. I don't think that's the demographic of people that you're trying to reach with your message. Because I think
So
it,
where do you
it
think I should go? Give me
well,
if you want
I
to give
think
me some
if
advice.
I
Go
were to
ahead.
go, okay, I think if I were to do what you did and try to benefit from my community, I would start at the school level. I would start at a high school. Because that's where the change is going to be. That's where those kids are going to have the time to pick up their GPAs and go to a school and study and apply themselves better at a high school.
I would love to do that. The thing
I
is that
think.
getting a high school to get me to go.
Well, yeah. Well,
Oh
I
man,
think
that would be
because
great.
because you can't go
Honestly,
into
that would
them
be
and
great.
just say, oh yeah, y'all are a bunch of niggas and you gotta stop
I'm
being
definitely
niggas.
going there. This is some
Like
nigga shit. Niggas.
I don't think that would hold any value. I don't think that
I
would
think
do
that
anything.
would. I
Right?
think if I got with their football coaches, I said, "Can I call these niggas niggas?" They would probably agree and be like, "Yeah, go ahead,
Okay,
nigga."
when they're if you're calling out the people that are doing dumb shit, but that black guy that's literally just minding his business and you're going, oh well, this is nigga shit and this is why you're gonna be a nigga. He's literally gonna sit there and just say, what'd you say fuck me for?
Who am I? If I talk about one of the students, I'm like, "You're a fucking
If you're
nigga,
talking about the students and you come in there saying, oh yeah, these are fucking niggas, he's gonna say, what the fuck did I do?
you niggas."
He's gonna say, what the fuck did I do? And I think that's a fair. I don't know. I feel
Mr.
like
Marshall, you know I wouldn't do that. You know I wouldn't go.
I,
You know
I
I wouldn't go in there and
well
call
yeah, but I feel like
niggas niggas.
when you go to an HBCU and you're talking about all these issues and the reason why they're lacking are they are the people that are again in college and gaining a higher education.
Just because you're in college doesn't mean shit nowadays. This is not the 1890s, man. Just because you go to college, it does not mean anything
It doesn't
anymore in
guarantee success,
America.
but I think if your parents made those sacrifices and you made your way into
People
college,
get into colleges not because of their parents. They get in colleges because of affirmative action, because of Pell Grants. I mean,
that
because
shit
of
don't even
immigration
exist anymore.
programs. That shit does exist. Then now the DEI shit, I'm not really big on the DEI shit. I'm not really. I really don't
Oh,
give a fuck.
really? I can.
Affirmative, like I really don't give a fuck about the D. I think that's like just overblown bullshit. I do think it does exist. I do think people hire people just because they're black and they're minorities because the company wants to do that. I think companies do that shit extensively, especially at a high level. But I really don't care about that. I think affirmative action and the lowering of the test scores and lowering of the standard to get people in is like way a big issue. But someone will say that, well, that's DEI. You know, they're lowering the standards to get in. I think it's kind of, I think the DEI term is like a new thing. I think they use it. They just don't want to call it affirmative action because like it's no different than like the people who are like, well, this is just reverse racism. It's like, nigga, it's just racism. Just call it racism. Don't have to sit there and like put another spin on it. That's how I feel about it. But someone will disagree with me. Someone will. Um,
No, I agree. I think I personally have never. I have been pro DEI. I think it has gone a little out of hand in some regards, but I think I am pro the idea of DEI and affirmative
why?
action. Well, I mean, I think it's getting, for example, right? Let's look at the famous United pilot debacle that happened, right? I think getting black people and more minorities into fields that they're historically not, I don't think that's a bad thing.
That's a bad thing because why am I putting people in a field just because they're black? I want to put people in the field because they're good at the job.
Hold on. Okay, again, that's not what's happening. That's disingenuous to say DUI is just DI is not just hiring random black people off the street and just telling them, oh yeah, you guys
No, it's
are
not
going to
hiring
work. They're
random.
just
Of
as
course,
qualified. They're just
obviously,
as
no,
qualified.
no, they're not just as qualified. When you're coming from schools and the standards have been lower, it's the same thing we have a problem with them in the military, right?
Do you think a
You have a
black
lot of
pilot
people.
is less? Do you think a black pilot is going to be less qualified under D if he got in under DI?
If I examine the school, yes, 1,000% because the standards have been lowered for him to get in. So fuck no, I don't want a black pilot. Fuck
Hold on.
no.
That's not a flight school. When you go to flight school, you don't know how to fly a plane, right?
You don't know how to fly a plane.
When me and you go to flight school, we're not going to know how to fly
When
a
I
plane
when
off
I
the
went in the
rip, right?
military during COVID, they lowered the standards and lowered the requirements for people to get into certain schools, like airborne school. Now, when I went to fucking selection for psyops, the standards were back to where they need to be. They had to change a lot of shit around. So guess what? A lot of people got into the military because they lowered their standards. That was across the board for women, blacks, all that. They changed the one of the Army Combat Fitness tests. They changed the ACFT. Excuse me. Yeah, the Army Combat Fitness test. They changed one of the exercises.
Mm-hmm.
This is a combat fitness test for women. They changed it. Leg tuck. They give it out because women couldn't do leg tuck. Well, if they can't do it, then get the fuck out the military. Why should we lower the standards to accommodate other people? Fuck that. No. This is why we look at the police force. Why do you think you have so many fucking fat cops? Why do you think we have so many fucking fat cops? Why do we think we have so many people within the medical field who are there's so much medical malpractice coming? Well, one because we keep fucking hiring Indians and Chinamen to go there, but also we keep lowering the standards for our own people.
What
We
did
keep
Indian
lowering
and
the standards for our
Chinamen
own
have to
people.
do with that? What did they do?
Well, one, we don't want people. I don't want Chinese and Indian doctors. I want white and black doctors. I want
Why can't
American
we have?
doctors
Hold on. Why can't we have Chinese and Indian doctors?
because guess what? I don't want my people to be worked on by other people. I think that American doctors and I think American doctors, guess what? I think we're the best. When we're importing people to do a job that Americans can do, that we've been teaching people how to do, fuck no. No, we're not gonna do that. I want Indian doctors to work on be in India and do the best and that they can and be the best and brightest in their country, which they are, because these are some intelligent people. But I don't want
So
that in my country. I want the best and brightest to be
are you
working on
telling
their
me
own.
if you were having surgery and an Indian guy, you wouldn't want an Indian guy to do it? You would have a problem with an
Honestly,
Indian guy doing the
if I
surgery?
had the option, if I had the option to choose, like if you gave me an option, if I can choose, I'm gonna choose like a black or white person.
Just
I'm
offering.
gonna choose.
No.
Honestly, I'm gonna choose an American. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna choose an American born, homegrown here in the United States, and it's typically be a black or white person. I'm gonna choose them, but I'm not gonna choose like some guy from China. No, I don't want that. I don't want that. Now,
Why?
if it's like if I get in a car accident and I'm bleeding out and I wake up, I'm not gonna like, is that a fucking Indian doctor? Get him out of me. I want to die. I'm not gonna do this. Retarded. And am I not gonna be grateful? Yeah, I'll be grateful. Be grateful to the guy. But when it comes to the standards of what I want academic, this is the problem. Because we keep in here's the problem with immigration. We're seeing the Republican Party do this. This is why it's disgusting. This is why people are abandoning Trump because we're watching people getting imported at the high level, H-1B1 visas, who are mainly coming from India and China, go into the medical field, go into tech, and black and white kids, American kids who have been working their ass off, putting themselves in debt to get in these positions, they're getting fucked over by people who are just coming over here. And guess what? These companies don't want to hire these Americans because Americans are the most expensive workforce. They'd rather hire these people and give them money. And guess what? These people are getting the money that they're getting and sending it back overseas. Fuck that.
Would you not send your money back to your family
I'm
overseas?
not saying. Guess what? I'm not knocking him for doing it. That's what they're going to do. So if I was in their position, I would do it too. But guess what? I'm not in their position. It goes against my interests. I'm not going to sit back and advocate for it. Why would I advocate something that's to my detriment? I can understand their perspective, but I'm not about to sit here and advocate for that. I don't want that.
I've never seen a problem with
I
immigrants.
would say you should. Being Gen
Seen
Z,
a problem with that.
it's a big problem. Lowers wages. That's one thing. Corporations are going to use these people for cheap labor. It's modern day slavery. They're going to use these people from South Central America or from Southeast Asia and Africa because they can pay them cheaper. They don't want to give them the benefits because these people are not going to. They're just glad to be in America. They're going to do everything they can to get whatever benefits they can. But they really don't know. And these corporations are using them because they don't want to hire you and I. They want to hire these people, which fuck is over. And then, like I said, at the high level, instead of hiring this kid who's been going to, he's in the tech field or he's in the medical field, he's been going to school. Instead of hiring him and teaching him to a certain standard, we'd rather teach these people and hire them, and let our people underperform and beat them at a meteor level. Fuck no, we're not having it anymore. We're done with that. We're done with that. Especially with Gen Z, we're done with that. We're done with that. We can't be importing the world and not taking care of our own people. Immigration is a net negative on a country. It's a mass net negative on a country.
I mean, I guess I do see your point there with immigrant. I do understand that. I'm not gonna knock that, but I don't know. I've never personally. I know a lot of immigrants. They've always been good to me. I don't know. I just think
I'm sure, yeah. Like
whatever.
I know immigrants too. I serve with some.
Yeah, no,
They're fantastic. Like,
I
yeah, I
know.
met some fantastic people. But when we look at on a grand scope of things, I'm gonna take care of my family first.
Well,
Doesn't
of
mean I don't
course,
care about the
of
other
course,
families.
of
Yeah,
course.
doesn't mean I don't care about the other families on the neighborhood on the block. Doesn't mean I don't care about my neighbors. Doesn't mean I care about the people on the other on down the street. I care about them, but my family comes first. Like the people in my household are going to eat. If there's food in the middle of the street, and there's no food all around, I'm going to fight for my family to get that first before I fight for anyone else to get it first. Now, if
Well,
we
of
have to come
course.
together and work together, because guess what? There's abundance of food that we have to resource and excuse me, that we have to ration. I'm going to do it together as a community, but I'm going to make sure that my family eats. I'm
No, of
hungry,
course. But
dude. I'm being
I don't think immigrants are the reason why you're not. I don't think immigrants are the reason why you're
of,
not
of course I
eating.
don't blame the immigrant. No,
Well, no,
let me get this
I don't
straight.
think
Yeah, I don't blame
immigration.
the
I don't think
immigrants.
immigration is the reason why you're not eating. I don't
Yes, it
think that's
is.
what the problem is.
It is because guess what? These corporations, instead of paying you the decent wage for that job, they're going to pay someone else cheaper, so they don't have to pay you a decent wage. That means that you lose out and you're going to be hungry because guess what? The wages are not going to go up. The wages are going to go down, and that's what we're seeing across the board. Why do you think people are living paycheck to paycheck? Why do you think people are spending 52% of their income? Why do we want to have that? Big reasons because we've been importing more and more people over here, and it's been going beyond the rate that the economy should be growing. Importing people who are not culturally compatible with our country, which is the problem. Because guess
Culture.
what?
Okay, see
I want you to think
now
about
that's
this.
where we disagree. The cultural compat. I don't think there
Hmm.
is a. I don't think there is cultural compatibility. I don't think that's a
Yes, there is.
problem.
Each group has a culture. Each nation has a
Well, of
culture. Each
course,
people have
everyone
a
has a
culture.
culture, but I don't think there needs to be a compatible culture. I don't think they have to adapt and adjust. I think as long as
They
they're
should. It's called assimilation. So if I let me tell you this: if I go to China, right, there's certain fuck that. Let's make it a better standard, the easiest one. If I go to Afghanistan or if I go to Saudi Arabia, right, and I bring my wife with me, my wife has to dress a certain way. I have to adhere to certain laws there. If I have children, my children may have a better claim and stake to the country. They're going to speak the language more. They're going to be more accustomed to the culture because they're growing up in it. Compared to me, I'm a foreigner. I'm not from this culture. I'm not from these countries. I may try to blend in as much as I can, but I'm not from here. I have no connection here. And just because I'm over there doesn't make me. If I go to Iran and live in Iran and become an Iranian citizen, doesn't make me an Iranian. Doesn't make me an Iranian. If I take my black ass over there and even if I take my black ass over there and I have children in Iran, my children won't be Iranian. They won't. If I go to China and I have children with my black ass, guess what? My children won't be Chinese.
well, no, you're right, but I think America, the beauty of America is that when you're here and you are an American, I think that's what this country was.
It's not how it works. That's the problem
I
that
think
we're
that's
having.
how this country. I think how this country was founded. I think that's how this country
It was
was
not
meant to
founded in
work.
that way. It was not founded in that way. Honestly, it was founded. Honestly, if we're going to be looking at the documents, really, we aren't supposed to be here. If we're going to be honest, but we are, and we
We
fucking should
no,
always stand on that. We are fucking here, and we are
we aren't supposed
American.
to be here, but guess what?
Yeah,
We are here, and I think obviously
yeah.
wherever you go, you have to assimilate to a degree. But I don't. I think the way Like I have no problem with someone going out to go praying in public. I got no problem with that if that's what you want to do.
I have no problem with that either. But guess what? I don't want my cities and towns looking like London and looking like Berlin and looking like France. I don't want that. I don't want
In
that.
what
Fuck that.
regards?
In regards is that so the culture and the social framework of the West has always been Christian. Now you're seeing people who are Islamic going into these Christian cities and towns, and now they're the majority. And it doesn't look like France. Paris doesn't look like Paris. London doesn't look like London. Berlin doesn't look like Berlin. That's why people are pushing back. It's not
But
because
how
they're
does it not?
racist and they hate
But
these people,
does it
because these
not
people
look
are not
like it?
culturally compatible. Because they're bringing a certain culture, a certain identity that is alien to the identity of the established country. It's like this: I come into your house and you got your curtains and your carpet a certain way, a certain color. Say you like blue. You like your house to be
Mm-hmm.
blue. Everything is blue in your house. And I like red. And I may like a little bit of blue. Like, oh, blue's okay. And okay, I'll deal with a little bit of blue, but I want the corner of my house to be red. And I start bringing my mother and I bring my wife and I bring my kids and I bring all these other people in. And now half of the house is red and the half of the house is blue. It's alien to what it was. It's no longer what it used to be. And now you have a takeover. Now you will say that, well, that's just the how things have always gone. But you have every right to say this is not how that's not how I want to. Because when you're a guest, you came over here and you invited people over, and now it's all red. I've lived here forever. Who are you to come over here and tell me that my house can now be red
But
when it's always been red?
why are we looking at it as your house? This is just now. Obviously, you're from here. This is gonna be your country, right? But at the same time, you gotta share it with these people. It's
You
not
don't
just
have to
your.
share it with these people.
I'm not just inviting you into your home, and I think that's a problem.
I mean, I'm inviting you home. You're requesting citizenship. You're asking for citizenship. One, or you're seeking asylum. Two, or you're coming from some economic downturn, right? Conflict, whatever.
Uh
So
huh.
asylum seeker, whatever, refugee. You're seeking citizenship, and all those three. You're asking to come into my household. I have to let you in. I don't have to let you in. I'm not obligated to let you in.
Now,
I have no one forcing me to let you in. If I want to say fuck no, get off my porch, I could say that. Now, would it be nice to do that? No. So that's why we have other ways of saying, well, you know what? Don't bring all this shit over here. We take it to assimilate. Because the old way was get the fuck out, don't come to my shit. We could be aggressive like that, but it's not nice. I think it's not a Christian thing to do. If I invite you over as a guest and say, hey, you can stay here for however long as you want, you still have to listen to me. And the moment I say get out, you get out. If something happens to me in my house and I meet you like, hey, Mr. Marshall, can I come over to your house and stay for a while? So you can stay as long as you want. And you sit back and give me the food and all that, and I'm starting to bring all this mess and all these problems from my own place and my own home. You're gonna tell me to get out eventually. You're not gonna want that to say, or say that, hey, I want to stay here for about 2 or 3 weeks, man.
mhm.
And it goes past like we're at week fucking 18. I'm still here. You're gonna want to kick me out. This is how things are. We find nicer ways to do it. I think we should. But at the end of the day, it's your house. You own it. You've been here longer. You've contributed more. You've put more work into it. You have every right to tell someone to get the fuck out of your house. Your parents, your parents own their home, right?
Yep.
Your parents told you to get the fuck out of the house, not because they hate you, but they love you. They want you to grow, right? They want you to go and do your own thing. This is how it is, man. This is how the world's always been. But the thing is, within the West, we've been told that we can't do these things because we have to open the door for everyone. Because guess what? These big multinational corporations, these big political parties, Republican, Democrat, they benefit from having mass migration economically. It fills their pockets. The Democrats use it to get votes. The Republicans do it for business. And it fucks over the American worker. It fucks over the common man. And it's been fucking over our generation. And we have to deal with the pains of it. And we say no to that. We're done with it. And we've seen it. We see it. The revolutions happen in Mexico. Well, the protests they had in Mexico. We're seeing what's happening in Europe. We're in the age of rebellion, man. And as people revolting and rebelling against the current framework of the system that's not benefiting us, our people, first and foremost.
I I do see what you're saying about I don't know. I don't believe immigrants should have to assimilate under any because obviously I think to a degree when you come to a new country you do have to adapt to their certain cultures the same way if I went over there. To a degree obviously you
Mhm.
do. But I think seeing a bunch of immigrants in my city in my town where I live that would never change that would never affect me in any way personally on the way I feel. I would never change my mind. If I lived in London and I saw immigrants coming in, I would not that would not
When you
make
go to
me feel
London, I'm gonna tell you this: when you go to London and you talk to, I want you to talk to the black Londoners, all right? I want you to talk to the white Londoners. I want you to talk to everybody who's been there. They're gonna tell you how different it is. They're going to tell you
No, of
that
course
this
it's got to
isn't
be different.
okay.
Listen,
Yeah.
of course it's got to be different. Of course, when a
Mhm.
different demographic of people move in, of course it's got to be different. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
It is a bad thing. It's not. Here's the thing I want to get you to understand. The immigrants aren't bad. It's what they're being used for that's bad. I don't view the person who comes over for a better life as a bad person. They're doing what they need to survive. I respect that. I respect any man who crosses the Rio Grande and tries to get his family over here. I have some respect for him because he really wants what's best for his family. But I want what's best for my family in my country at the end of the day. And guess what? The people who are going to fuck him over the most are not, it's not me. I'm getting fucked over by these big corporations. I'm getting fucked over by these political parties. And they're going to sit back and lie to him and try to film a bunch of bullshit. Because it's easier to lie to new people than, I'll tell you this. It's like this way, right? You get into a new job, right? And I've noticed this. I don't know how long you've had a work history, but I've noticed this a lot of places I've worked. The shittiest people always try to come to the new person. The people that everyone don't like at the job, he's going to try to
Oh
make
yeah,
friends with the new
no,
person.
of course.
See?
That's
And that's what your politicians do. That's exactly what our corporations do. Because the people who already been working, that nigga ain't shit. He ain't gonna do talk to that motherfucker. He ain't gonna do a good damn thing. He's always nigga
no,
ain't
that's
never on
true. No,
time.
that's no, you
But
know.
that's exactly the dynamic. So it's not even the immigrant is the problem. Like the people who have like the hatred of the immigrants. Like I have a problem when these people come over and they come act entitled, like they have a say in what the fuck goes on. Like, no, fuck you. But I don't have a hatred of these people. I respect where they're coming from. But they need to respect the fact that they're in my country. And I have every right to dictate how the house is going to go. They have no say in it. They have to earn that say, as we've earned that say, especially as black people. We've earned our
Okay,
say.
but do they earn that? Do they earn that say when they get naturalized as a citizen? Is that where the say?
They earn a say. Yeah, I would say that the things need to change. That the current framework, yes, they earn that say. I say it needs to change. I say it takes 3 generations to make an American. I think that
You think it takes
you are
three
working
generations to make an American?
to make an American, yes, and you have to really marry into. Like I said, if I go to China and me and my wife have a kid, the kid ain't Chinese. It may be a Chinese citizen, but a kid ain't Chinese. The kid's gonna become Chinese when generations of marrying into Chinese people. All right, his black ass is gonna marry this Chinese girl, and guess what? This Chinese girl is probably gonna marry back to another Chinese person, and then guess what? So on, so on, so on, so on, and that's how it goes. The children are gonna marry into the society. That's how things have always been. And that's how you become an American by blood, by generations, by sacrifice, not by a piece of paper. A piece of paper just says you're a citizen. And guess what? It's beautiful to be an American citizen.
I,
Good on
I,
you.
I think you're. I think once you come here, I think once you get that piece of paper that tells you you're a citizen, I think America is one of the specialty of America and the specialty of our country is I think that's when you become an American.
Birthright citizenship needs to go away. I think it was
You don't
only
believe in
intended
birth.
for us. It was
You
only
don't
intended
believe in
for us.
birthright citizenship.
It was only intended for us. It really wasn't intended for all these other people. 1,000% believe that. I've always believed it. Before even Trump said anything about it, I was like, wow, he said that? That's fucking crazy. I was surprised when he said that. Wow, we can say that now? Holy shit. Yeah, I'm serious.
You think
I
birthright
think,
citizenship should go?
no, I think it should go. I think you should be a citizen. Great, get a piece of paper. But your children, as they marry into society, are going to be more American than you. Take it this way, right? Somebody comes from Zimbabwe
Mm-hmm.
and they come to the country and they're married to someone who's from Zimbabwe as well. They get their citizenship. They're citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would say they don't have a right to vote in our elections. They don't have a right to hold office, but they are afforded all the benefits of being an American in terms of financial, in terms of all. But they just don't get to vote and have a say. I just don't want them to have a say. You haven't been here long enough.
They shouldn't
However,
have a say in the way that
no, they
their
haven't
lives are
because
going to
they
be
haven't.
affected
They haven't
politically.
been. Yeah, they haven't been here long enough. They haven't been here
Eh,
long enough.
But at the end of the day, why why should they have to sit there and not vote and just say, well, whatever they want to do for me? At the end of the day, that's
Because we're
their
in the
own.
majority, and we're the majority. And guess what? You came over here. We allowed you to come
So
over here.
let's say that a high amount of people of citizens want to vote for someone that would in turn be fucking them over politically in whatever policies that could be negatively
We have
affecting them.
checks and balances.
They
They
should just
go.
let that shit happen.
We have checks and balances for that to make sure that we don't discriminate or we
Well, no,
don't
I'm
go
not talking
against this
about just
person.
discriminate.
Right?
I'm just saying like for someone that if you vote for them, your community might be overlooked, right? Because
The
those
community's gonna be overlooked.
they should
Okay.
just take it.
Yeah, you should just take it. Your community's gonna be overlooked. Okay, get together and do something in the community. I mean, what am I gonna say for you?
Why should they not have any
Have a
say in what
say?
happens in their
You haven't been here long enough.
communities.
What have you contributed? What have you given? What have you sacrificed? This is
I
this is
mean,
how
they
other
pay
countries
taxes.
operate. Taxes doesn't make you a citizen. Taxes is not a
I
sacrifice.
think if you, I mean, it's not sacrifice, but I think if you're paying taxes, I mean, what sacrifices? I haven't
Anybody
made a
can pay
sacrifice.
taxes.
I haven't made a
Anybody can pay
sacrifice. I can
taxes.
go out and vote. Should I not vote?
Yeah, I think guess what? I think it should move to 21. I think honestly, when it comes to voting, we can get into this is like a long discussion. I want to finish what I was saying about the Zimbabwean
But yeah, yeah.
people
Let's
from
go back to
Zimbabwe.
the beginning.
They have a child here. The child's gonna be more American than they are because the child's gonna grow up in the
No, that's
school
true. Yeah,
system,
of course,
right? And then so on, so on. The grandchildren, the great
of course.
grandchildren, gonna be more American. Now, they're still gonna be alien because they're of African descent and if the country is majority white, then they're gonna be brown. So they're like, okay, they're a minority. Now, if they mix into the majority society, like they marry a white girl, now those children are going to be mixed race. But after generations and generations, they're going to have more phenotypical features, depending on which way they go. If they marry into a more white family and continue doing that, then they're going to have more white features, but still having like an African ancestry. The same thing goes with the other side, right? That is a lot better than the current framework what we have. I'd rather have someone marry into the society than to just like, well, I'm gonna come over here and I'm just gonna get my citizenship and do whatever the fuck I want. Because most of these people just send their money back home. And I respect that. Like, hey, this is for survival. But no, you're taking away fuck that. Don't do that. I want you to invest into this because that's a sacrifice. Right. But when it comes to voting, I think if you serve in the military, civil service, if you have children, right, if you have a decent work history, then you should be allowed to vote. But if you're 18, just doing absolutely fucking nothing, and you come out of high school, and you don't have anything going on, or say you're in your 20s and you haven't been fucking working, you've done nothing with your life, why would they let you vote? Like, what the fuck have you given?
I
Like,
mean,
I
I
think
don't
a
think.
woman who has like, honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not saying you, but I want you to think about some fucking 27-year-old that hasn't like left mommy and daddy's house, that doesn't do anything. He
No,
works at
I know some
McDonald's.
people like that.
Yeah, why the fuck do you want them to vote? You want them to
I
be able to
mean,
have a say?
I think they should have a say. I don't think. I think if you live here, I think you should have a say. I think if you live here, you should have a say. Don't look at me like that. No, no,
If
no,
I
no.
if I come to your house, hold on. If I come to your house, right? I don't do shit. I don't work. I don't bring in no fucking groceries, nigga. I ain't doing shit. I ain't even bringing no bitches to your house for you to fuck. Come on now. You gonna let me have a say in how things go?
Okay, well that's that. Again, the house analogy doesn't really work because that's literally
It,
your
it does
house.
because this is your
But
house.
at
This
the
is your
same time,
house.
though, I think you should have a say on what's affecting you, right? I think you should have a say. I think if you, okay, like example, if you came to my house and I said, all right, you're sleeping on the floor, no blanket, no pillow. I think you should say, yo, man, like I'm not gonna lie, I need a pillow. I need something. I need something. I think that's fair to say.
And if you don't want to give a pillow, then he can do what? What can he do?
He could go out there and buy a pillow, but you're saying he can't
He can
even
get
go
the
out
fuck
there.
out. No, he ain't gotta go out there and buy no pillow. He can get the
He
fuck
could
out of
get.
my house.
But I think
That's
if
what
you
he can
come to
do.
my if you come to my house, right? For example,
Yeah.
I stayed with my friend at his college dorm, and he didn't have a pillow, he didn't have shit, right?
Yeah.
Now, at some point, everybody else on his floor, they gave me a pillow and shit. They said, "All right, this is a little fucked up. You got to get something." And I think to some degree, I think they should be when we go back to the immigrants, they should be able to vote. I think they should be able to vote because that's what's gonna affect them. I think they should be able to look out for their own well being and not just say and not
This
leave
is
it
how
up to
you get.
chance.
This is the problem. This is how Rome fell because you get all these different people with conflicting interests and their own self interests that they're not going to really care about the overall trajectory of society, the civilization they're part of. They're going to care about just my own
I
community.
think
I don't
everyone
care.
votes for their own
I
good,
don't give
actually.
a fuck up. No, 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 no. Everyone votes for the overall good of the nation. The problem is today, and this is why I don't like the 50 states idea, because people just want to vote. Well, I got my state and I'm going to vote for this and I'm going to vote. Fuck that. I care about what's good for us as a whole. Yeah. But the immigrant don't have a fucking say in it because he doesn't even know what's going on here. You just got here. Why the fuck are you talking? Why are you talking? You just
Be-
got here. If I, like I said, let's go back to even this. You go to a new job. How you going to tell the boss, well, we need to run it this way? And we should be doing the job this way because I learned at McDonald's. I know we working at FedEx, but I learned at McDonald's. Nigga, you don't know what the fuck going on here. Why are you talking? Shut up, learn, and listen.
so at what
You
point
got to
should
earn
they be?
that.
So at what point should they be able to vote?
I say no, the children are gonna be able to vote. I say
Oh,
that you're
they
working.
can never vote.
Mm-hmm. And then now they serve in the military. If they give,
So
they serve in the
they can
military.
never vote. Is
Um,
what you're
if they're
that's what you're saying.
police, then I would say yes. If they serve in the military, they're in some kind of civil service. Then yeah, they have a say because they're actively working in society. But If they just here, they ain't like I don't have no fucking say. Working at McDonald's or working at Hobby Lobby, ain't gonna have no motherfucking say. I don't even want the people who are American, who are here been here generations who don't do shit. They have a say. The fuck
I,
you gonna talk about something you don't even have a
so
pot to piss in the window
so
throw it
if
out
they're
of?
here for a long time and they have a job and everything and they're contributing to society, they shouldn't vote. They still shouldn't vote
I think there should be
because
a
they're here.
threshold. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I think mine is a little bit aggressive, but I think it's fair to say there should be a threshold for certain immigrants, but it shouldn't just be given outright. Like, yeah, next election you can vote. Nah, like, nah, I should be like at least in 10 years, 15 years, you have to be here, and then you can have this. You have to
That's
earn it.
crazy.
You have to earn it. Why not?
The whole America again. These are going against the principles America is founded on, that everyone has the right to vote.
Mr.
Everyone.
Marshall, we live in the 2020s. Don't live in. We're about to celebrate our 250-year anniversary as a nation
Mm-hmm.
next year. America is not the same as it was 250 years ago, for good reason, and for I'm glad it's not. I'm glad America's not where it is. We should be doing everything we can to expand upon our society and our civilizational state, because we're not just a nation. We're not just this country. We are a civilizational power. We rule over an entire civilization. The fucking satellites to keep your phone connected, we've put that up in the sky. The towers that people connect to around the world, we've put that up. We've raised that. The reason for why the trade routes are the way that they are, and who protects those, that's us. We're the most powerful air force in the entire world. We have the best minds, the best and brightest thinkers that they come to our schools to learn from. Around the world, they come to our institutions to learn. We are a civilizational state. We can't sit back and think like we're some small country anymore. We are a civilizational power. And that's what I'm trying to get you to understand. I know what you're saying. Like, I agree. And I used to have the same framework a few years ago. But I'm looking at it in a grand scope of things. Where are we going to be? Not where we are now, but where can we be and where we're going? We're civilizational power. We're looking at multipolarity.
Mm-hmm.
The Chinese are gaining power economically, militarily. The Russians are going to gain power. Spheres of influence are going to exist. We're no longer going to have this, unipolar. It's no
Yeah.
longer going to be this unipolar world, right? Global homogeneity over the world is ending for the United States. It's going to be a more multipolar state, a
Mm-hmm.
multipolar existence, civilizational powers. We have to adapt to that. We just can't sit back
Yeah.
and whoa. We have to adapt if we want to survive.
You know what? I enjoyed this conversation. I think
Yeah,
I have to go somewhere soon, so I gotta unfortunately cut this short. I wish we could get into more. Maybe at a later date we can get into more, definitely. But yeah, I think this was an interesting conversation, and I think my perspective. Honestly, I will say my perspective on you changed a little bit, because I went into this in the mindset of this guy might be a bit of an asshole, but you know what? You
nah,
weren't an
man.
asshole, so
I'm
you
a
know what?
cool dude,
There we
man.
go.
Listen, I know where you're in. Like, well, don't dox your state, but I think you're on the East Coast. Like, you're
Yeah, yeah.
okay, bro. If you're ever out in Detroit, man, we go get a fucking beer,
Yeah,
man.
we
If
can
I'm
have a
ever out
talk in
there,
Detroit. If I'm in Detroit,
of course,
we could go have a
eh,
talk. And
love
you
it,
know what? That
man.
changes that's something that I would not have said going into this. And
All right,
I think we have made that change. So it was great talking to you. And I hope
it's a
we
pleasure,
have a
man.
great day.
You as well, man. Take it easy.